Chapter 1129. Each of the martial arts that Fang Xingjian performed seemed as if he had trained hard for several decades, or over 100 years. Fang Xingjian had even performed the ascendant heavenly seal that the Heavenly Emperor had unleashed earlier. The supremacy, universe, and infinity seals were unleashed concurrently, and the prowess and disposition surpassed even that of the Heavenly Emperor. This person's aptitude is unbelievable. To think that he can replicate my heavenly Tao order after seeing it once. What kind of monster is he? When immortal Yuqing saw an identical, or even more mysterious great Tao aura gushing out from Fang Xingjian's body, a hint of despair flashed in his eyes. Amidst the endless profoundness, the two auras permeated, intertwined, and assimilated. Immortal Yuqing's body slowly melted and dissipated, and all the powers inside and outside of his body returned to this world. He had died under this ultimate technique that he had prepared for the Heavenly Emperor and Venerable Master Zhaixing. In the end, the blurry figure laughed out loud in void space. Now that I've verified this ultimate technique, I could be considered to have died a worthy death. Heavenly Emperor, Zhaixing, I've still surpassed the two of you. Ha 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 ha. Amidst the maniacal laughter, the last bit of immortal Yuqing's existence completely disappeared from this world, leaving no traces behind. Fang Xingjian's 4 martial art projections in the sky slowly dissipated. They had descended to stop the repercussions of the attacks when Venerable Master Zhaixing and Immortal Yuqing were retreating. After all, if there was no one to stop the repercussions of the attacks from the Tier 9 Divine level experts, both worlds would suffer from irreversible damage. Right now, out of the 3 top-notch experts in the Western Land, the Heavenly Emperor, Immortal Yuqing, and Venerable Master Zhaixing, one was trapped, one was dead, and one escaped. The battle could be said to have come to an end. Yurithai looked at this scene in a daze. The scene of Fang Xingjian defeating the 3-tier 9 divine level experts within a few moves kept replaying in his mind. There had never been a moment where he felt that Tier 9 divine level experts were nothing much. They were so powerless to retaliate before Fang Xingjian. Although Tang Xian and Huang Shan's cultivations were not high enough, and they could not see the exact process of the battle clearly, they understood the outcome of the battle when they saw that Fang Xingjian was the only one left standing in the sky. To think that he defeated the joint forces of 3 experts single-handedly. Tang Xian's brows furrowed tightly as he mumbled in horror. The world has changed. The entire world is going to change. On the other side, the Heavenly Emperor had already been completely swallowed into Fang Xingjian's stomach. However, this was only a method of using his own powers to trap Fang Xingjian. As the high temperature and high pressure wore him down time and time again, the Heavenly Emperor was reborn and recovered under the effects of time reversal. No matter how Fang Xingjian attacked or depleted his powers, there was not a hint of panic on his face. As Immortal Yuqing and Venerable Master Zhai's power was depleted, the Xingjian's as well. As Xianqing's and the Seiju Xingjian died, he had as well his as heavens as his as heavens, his as was a divine level. As heaven's Emperor of Xing, as Qian said, he as the divine level as could. As it's nothing, I just killed you. As Fang Xingjian smiled, a heavenly Tao order landed in his body, and the Heavenly Emperor turned into ashes silently, merging into this world. This heavenly Tao order is really useful. As long as the opponent's realm isn't high enough, there's almost no chance of survival. Moreover, it doesn't rely on power to destroy, and there aren't any side effects from the repercussive waves. It won't destroy the world or the environment. Fang Xingjian looked at the Heavenly Emperor, who was slowly dissipating, and thought, however, if the opponent's realm is high enough, or if it's someone like me who isn't receiving the attack with my actual body, this heavenly Tao order won't be able to harm the other party. Instead, it'll become a supplement to the other party, bringing about the effects of empowerment. It can be said to be an extremely powerful move that will either win or lose. After dealing with the Heavenly Emperor and Immortal Yuqing, Fang Xingjian did not plan on stopping. With a flash, he went in pursuit of Venerable Master Zhaixing. Although Venerable Master Zhaixing had sent out a clone to participate in this battle, his actual body had not gone too far away. He had been lying in ambush, waiting for an opportunity. Seeing that the Heavenly Emperor had been captured and that immortal Yuqing had died, he immediately retreated. Therefore, Fang Xingjian chased after the Venerable Master Zhaixing, based on his sudden inspiration senses. When Eurethai, who was standing in midair, saw this scene, he also gave chase abruptly. The Western Land's higher and lower realms did not just refer to the two classes that were separated by the martial sections. They were also two worlds in the physical world. In order to prevent the two realms from interfering with each other, for the dissemination of the longevity reversal art, and for better coordination of resources, the three great immortal sects had mobilized all of the experts at Tier 6, 7, 8, and 9 of the divine level several thousand years ago to distort space together. They distorted a vast stretch of space from the central continent's world, forming a small world in the upper layer of the continent. Without permission, ordinary disciples from the higher realm would not be able to freely enter and leave the two realms. The only gate between the two realms was located on the central continent's heavenly mountain. Due to the curling and distorting of space, the other locations were impossible to enter. Or rather, it could be said that they had no connection with the central continent's world. This caused the entire higher realm to exist on the central continent, yet also not. Right now, Venerable Master Zhaixing had been using spatial translocation and time acceleration, arriving in the sky above the heavenly mountain in the blink of an eye. Then with a flash, he disappeared completely. He returned to the higher realm, put down the realm shifting stone, and looked at the two realms that had been completely cut off from each other. He finally let out a breath. A hint of a smile slowly appeared on his face. Good. The two realms have been completely separated, and that kid won't be able to come over. The Heavenly Emperors and Yuqing's main bodies have been defeated and killed, and the three great immortal sects are in our hands, in addition to the new world. At this moment, Venerable Master Zhaixing finally saw a hint of light shining on the goal that he had been pursuing for several 10,000 years. I'm going to break through the restrictions of Tier 9 of the divine level and completely transcend this world. 1,000th of a second after Venerable Master Zhaixing finished doing all these, Fang Xingjian arrived at the spot where Venerable Master Zhaixing had appeared earlier. However, even his sudden inspiration could not sense Venerable Master Zhaixing's existence. It was because earlier on, in order to avoid Fang Xingjian, Venerable Master Zhaixing had sent down the higher realm's realm shifting stone, completely cutting off the connection between the two realms. After severing the realm-traversing gate, the upper and lower realms were like two bubbles that had been separated. There was no longer any connection between them, and Fang Xingjian's sudden inspiration would naturally not be able to sense it either. A short moment later, Eurethai also rushed over. When he saw the situation, he frowned and said he must have escaped back to the higher realm and then cut off the connection between the two worlds. Adam, the formidable divine king, and the others are still in the higher realm. Moreover, with the deaths of the immortal Yuqing and the heavenly emperor, the three great immortal sects and the various sects in the higher realm will be unified by Venerable Master Zhaixing. We must think of a way to stop him quickly. The great martial arts, resources, and experts of the three great immortal sects would definitely be an extremely powerful force when they were gathered together. Although Fang Xingjian was not afraid, he did not wish to leave behind any hidden dangers for himself when he was dealing with the God of universal truth in Miracle World. His gaze instantly swept across void space like he was looking at the heavens and probing into the netherworld. In the blink of an eye, he had already swept his gaze across the entire heavenly mountain. Chapter 1130. Right now, the entire heavenly mountain was surrounded by the Imperial Court's army of several tens of thousands. It was because today was the day of the Divine Emperor's consecration. However, no one would have expected that under the protection of this heavy army, When Divine Emperor Zhao Hao had reached the pinnacle of his life, he would also encounter the greatest crisis of his life. Inside and outside the hall, several thousand members of the Imperial Court's Forbidden Army were all lying on the ground. The Imperial Guards, the Imperial Court's experts, and the royal family's Zhao clan's consecrators were all severely injured. They were either lying on the ground or dead. At the deepest part of the pile of corpses, Zhao Hao sat in a corner with a pale countenance. He looked at the beautiful lady in palace attire and said, "I didn't expect that even you would be one of them." The beautiful lady in palace attire wore a set of elegant and luxurious imperial robes, a phoenix crown, and light makeup. However, she was already as beautiful as a person from a painting. She was Zhao Hao's most beloved concubine Shu. However, in reality, this concubine, Shu, had always been a disciple of the higher realms goddess sect. She had come to Zhao Hao's side in order to monitor him and seek benefits for the goddess sect. Looking at the pale Zhao Hao, concubine Shu said with a cold expression, "Zhao Hao, it's your good fortune to have me serve you for so many years. You have extraordinary talent and great strategy. You're able to bring order out of chaos and rule over the world. It's true that you can be said to be an emperor throughout the ages. It's also because of this that I decided to marry you. It's a pity. You shouldn't have thought of making an enemy out of the higher realms' immortal sections." Zhao Hao asked with a bleak countenance, "How did you guys discover this?" Just then, the sound of wind rang out, and several streams of cold light flashed in the air. For ladies had sacrificed themselves to turn into 4 streams of sword light, piercing toward concubine Shu's body from 4 different angles. At the sight of this scene, Zhao Hao appeared astonished, and his martial will spread out wildly. No, the golden martial will turned into a huge roaring dragon and flashed out. However, it was pressed down by concubine Shu with a palm strike. At the same time, the 4 sword lights collided with honored concubine Shu. It was like glass colliding with diamond. With a bang, the 4 women's bodies were smashed to pieces, turning into flesh and blood that filled the sky and disappearing. These 4 people were the maids that Zhao Hao had nurtured with great care since they were young. Not only were they outstanding in martial arts, but all of them had also cultivated to tier 1 of the divine level. They were also outstanding in other aspects such as spying, tracking, leading troops, and fighting battles. They were in charge of helping Zhao Hao gather information, monitor the officials, and supervise the world. They were his trusted aides, yet all of them had died in concubine Shu's hands. These 4 little bitches still want to come and save you? They're really overestimating themselves. Concubine Shu let out a cold laugh, and white light burst out from her hand. The power of her martial will continue to rise, shattering the huge golden dragon that Zhao Hao had released. Zhao Hao, it's true that you're a great genius. This son of heaven's dragon fist that you've created even has some of the charm of the higher realms' ascendant heavenly sect. Gathering everyone's powers to go up against the higher realms' immortal sects, it could be said to be very creative. It's a pity that you don't understand how great the difference between you and the higher realm is. Concubine Shu walked up to Zhao Hao slowly. Simultaneously, over 10 young ladies dressed in white palace clothes slowly appeared in the surroundings. Each of them had a cultivation at tier 1 of the divine level. It was these goddess sect's disciples who had killed the armies and guards in the surroundings. In the lower realm, tier 1 of the divine level was a martial arts legend, a character that was 1 in a million. They were people who could dominate the world. However, just the goddess sect alone was able to casually send out over 10 of them. Moreover, concubine Shu herself had a cultivation at tier 2 of the divine level, which was why she had been able to win against Zhao Hao. Concubine Shu stared at Zhao Hao and said, "Your Majesty, this is the last time I'm calling you Your Majesty. Your last chance now is to give up on the world and join our goddess sect. You'll still be able to receive protection then." The goddess sect had been coveting this rare genius for many days. This was why they wanted to secretly subdue him. When the time came, they would announce to the outside world that Zhao Hao was dead. In reality, they would take him in as their disciple and nurture him in secret. They would then use all sorts of restrictions on him. With Zhao Hao's potential, he would become another trump card after 100 years. Zhao Hao smiled bitterly and looked at concubine Shu. The higher realm is trying in vain to enslave the world and dictate the destinies of everyone in the world. I, Zhao Hao, will be the first to be indignant. You guys were only born a few years earlier than us and have lived a few more years than us. Even if I have another chance, I'll still resist to the end. A hint of cold gleam flashed in concubine Shu's eyes. Just then, with a flash of white light, two young men appeared in the hall. The two young men who had appeared in the hall were Fangxing Zhan and Yurithai. Seeing the two of them suddenly appear, concubine Shu's eyes were filled with wariness. Who are you guys? The goddess sect is now taking over this place. It's best that the two of you don't act recklessly. Fangxing Zhan did not say a word and merely threw a glance at concubine Shu. The latter had already disappeared without a trace, along with over 10 ladies in palace attire. He then looked at Zhao Hao. Zhao Hao felt that there seemed to be endless information and profoundness contained in concubine Shu's eyes. These profoundness kept on pounding against his consciousness, as if he was a sponge that was crazily absorbing endless information. There were all sorts of martial arts, all sorts of secret manuals, as well as countless technological knowledge and profoundness of the universe. At this moment, Zhao Hao felt as if he had gone through several thousand or even several tens of thousands of years. By the time he reacted, he had already appeared in the study in the palace. It was as if everything that had happened earlier was just a dream, an illusion. However, the endless knowledge in his mind told him that these were not illusions. At the same time, concubine Shu, who was at the foot of the heavenly mountain, slowly opened her eyes. There seemed to be stars circulating in her eyes. In that instant earlier, she had also sensed that endless knowledge and profoundness had been channeled into her brain. What on earth has happened? Concubine Shu sensed the knowledge that she had obtained in her mind. She felt that each of the knowledge was extremely vast, profound, and familiar. At this moment, she had a feeling as if her cultivation was rising incessantly. Yurithai frowned and asked, "What did you do?" Fangxing Zhan said calmly, "Zhao Hao has long since sent a portion of his clone into the higher realm's immortal sect. Therefore, even if his body here dies, his clone will still be able to continue living in the higher realm. This is also a backup plan that he left behind for himself. It's even simpler for concubine Shu. As a disciple of the goddess sect, there's no place that's safer than her sect. Therefore, she has always left a portion of her clone in her sect. Even if the main body dies, there'll still be a chance." Yurithai's gaze became increasingly puzzled. Although Zhao Hao had great foresight and concubine Shu was extremely cautious, leaving behind a portion of their clones in the higher realm, what did this have to do with them? Fangxing Zhan continued, "Right now, the connection between the higher realm and the lower realm has already been severed. In terms of space-time, there's no longer any connection between the two worlds. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration to say that they're two different universes. Therefore, if we wish to find the higher realm, we can only rely on humans." Chapter 1131. By relying on others? Yurithai's reaction was very fast. His countenance changed, and he said in disbelief, "You want to raise their cultivation, allowing them to sense across worlds and find their clones." "That's right." As Fangxing Zhan pondered, Tang Xian and Huang Shan, who were in the fleet far away, were also slightly stunned. Their eyes were in a daze, and endless martial arts legacies kept on gushing into their minds. The celestial eradication sword technique, high-dimensional sword arts, royal heavenly great palm imprint, and even a 9 lives helix all entered their minds. Yurithai said, "What martial arts legacies did you give them?" "All of them," Fangxing Zhan said calmly. "All of them," Yurithai said anxiously. "Are you joking?" "All of them. You gave them all of them?" "Oh, right." Fangxing Zhan turned to look at Yurithai. In that instant, an irresistible power that seemed like the history of the past and future penetrated through Yurithai's entire body, eventually gushing into his brain. After being stunned for a moment, Eurythai immediately reacted. Are you kidding me? You've given out so many great techniques just like that. What if they learn them? It's too dangerous. To Eurythai, it was true that something like this was too dangerous. It was because he had also received Fang Xingjian's legacies earlier. To him, regardless of whether it was the celestial eradication sword technique, high-dimensional sword arts, royal heavenly great art, ascendant heavenly seal, 9 lives helix, or sattva sword technique, they were all martial arts that were more dangerous and more terrifying than the previous. To think that these martial arts had been imparted out, just the thought of it made him feel a little uneasy. No, I can't do this. Eurythai moved, wanting to give chase and kill Zhao Hao, Tang Xian, concubine Shu, and the others. However, he discovered that a palm was pressing down gently on his shoulder, making it hard for him to move. He turned and looked at Fang Xingjian, saying, You're playing with fire. If they succeed in their cultivation, it'll be a great trouble. Impossible. Fang Xingjian shook his head. If they can really surpass the current me, then it'll be really interesting. Eurythai wanted to break free from Fang Xingjian's restraints, but with Fang Xingjian's current powers, how could he possibly break free? The two of them rose rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, they were already tens of thousands of meters above the ground. The entire central continent was beneath their feet, and the cosmos was slowly appearing above their heads. Originally, due to the existence of the upper realm, the path of heavens was sealed. Even a god-level powerhouse could not leave the central mainland and step into the starry sky. However, there were no more obstacles now. At the next moment, Fang Xingjian punched out. The space shattered, and countless quantum foam disappeared and reappeared. It connected with the sky above the western land, guiding the powers of the 9-tiered heavens to the sky above the central land. Seeing how Fang Xingjian had opened up the passageway between the two universes with a single punch, and how the shattered space kept on being destroyed and restored, gradually reaching a state of calmness under the space's restorative powers, a hint of astonishment flashed on Eurythai's face. At the next moment, he said worriedly, You've even activated the 9-tiered heavens? These people have received your legacy. If they were to strive for a higher realm than the divine level, it would be too dangerous. The consequences would be unthinkable. There won't be any consequences. Fang Xingjian's expression was emotionless, and there was no way to tell if he was happy or sad. He merely said calmly, Even if all of them reach Tier 9 of the divine level, it's meaningless. Moreover, given the current situation, it's too slow for them to comprehend the contents. To be able to link up the two worlds and search for their clones to return to the higher realm, they'll need to grasp high-dimensional sensory abilities at the very least and have their martial will reach 10,000 points or above. Optimistically speaking, they'll still need at least 1 year or more. This is too slow. The fight with the Heavenly Emperor and the other 2 Tier 9 divine level experts had made Fang Xingjian understand that after grasping high-dimensional sword arts, the 9 lives helix, and possessing the ability to convert unlimited lifespan, even if the Night Faction's martial arts were to be raised to the pinnacle, it would no longer be of much significance to him. Moreover, there was also the sattva sword technique, which had several 10 billion people. The power contained within it even surpassed Fang Xingjian's calculations. After coming to the central continent and fighting with the 3 great experts, Fang Xingjian had also learned many new martial arts, allowing him to condense even more martial art projections. A total of 6 martial art projections, the Royal Heavenly Great Art, High-Dimensional Sword Arts, Heart Sword Path, Sattva Sword, Celestial Eradication Sword Technique, and 7 Emotions Sword, descended from the sky. All of them had martial wills that had reached 90,000 points, and a hint of the waves they contained leaked out, causing Eurythai's countenance to change. At the next moment, the martial art projections condensed with the Heavenly Tao Order and the Ascendant Heavenly Seal as their foundations also descended. In the beginning, they only had martial wills that were several thousand points. However, as Fang Xingjian continued to burn his lifespan and converted into life force. The two martial art projections' powers grew at a rapid rate. Very soon, they broke through 10,000 points, then 20,000, and then 30,000. When the martial will of the two martial art projections reached 90,000 points, Fang Xingjian stopped the life force conversion. Meanwhile, Yurithai was completely stunned. Fang Xingjian did not hide the process of his martial will rising from several thousand points to 90,000 points, and Yurithai saw everything. When had he ever seen such a crazy increase in power? The martial prowess of these two martial art projections were not inferior to his. Yurithai stared at Fang Xingjian and said, "How on earth did you do it? What level has your physical body's strength reached?" Fang Xingjian knew that Yurithai had misunderstood, but he did not plan on explaining. The 8 martial art projections stood in 8 different directions, and invisible martial will extended out toward the entire planet that the central continent was on. Looking at the planet that was encompassed by his martial will, Fang Xingjian revealed a hint of curiosity. Unlimited life force conversion? Then what if I use it like this? I'll use this entire world as the testing platform to nurture the key I need. At the next moment, the Tier 8 divine level ability, time acceleration, was channeled into the entire planet. With the 8 martial art projections with martial wills of over 90,000 points accelerating the entire planet, Fang Xingjian's life force seemed to be burning fiercely in void space. Endless power kept on channeling into the 8 martial art projections, replenishing the energy they had depleted. To think that Fang Xingjian wanted to accelerate the entire planet's time and accelerate the catalysis of the experts in the central continent, allowing them to reach a cultivation level that could link up the two worlds and help him search for the higher realm. Under Yurithai's astonished senses, the entire world's time continued to accelerate. It was like a meteor that kept on accelerating. After experiencing the most difficult first push, it continued to get increasingly faster, and faster. It was like an arrow that had left the bow, shooting out toward an unpredictable future. With Fang Xingjian's actions, the entire central continent also went through a series of tremendous changes. It was as if it had become a petri dish, nurturing the life forms that Fang Xingjian needed. This feeling of using the entire world as a chessboard, a vessel, and casually changing a world's future for the sake of a key that led to the higher realm made countless comprehensions flash in Fang Xingjian's eyes. Chapter 1132. At this moment, the central continent, the entire world, and the various past and future were all extremely clear in Fang Xingjian's eyes. The entire world's history also kept on developing at an accelerated rate. After Tang Xian and Huang Shan received the legacy, they immediately entered seclusion to cultivate. The two of them comprehended the ultimate arts together, and with their Tier 6 divine level cultivation, their martial arts progressed at a tremendous pace. After discovering the 9-tiered heavens, they immediately attained a breakthrough to Tier 7 of the divine level. However, as they went through different parallel worlds, different experiences, and different cultivation, the two of them gradually had different understandings of Fang Xingjian's martial arts and started to diverge. As their cultivation increased, this divergence became increasingly deeper and greater. In the end, since they could not reach a conclusion through discussion, they could only fight each other to verify who was better. However, as top-notch Tier 7 divine level experts, both of them were prideful people. This was especially after they discovered that the realm-traversing gate had disappeared and the connection between the higher and lower realms had been severed. They felt that they were the best in the world and were even more unwilling to lower their heads and admit their mistakes. This led to repeated battles. The friction between the two of them also grew increasingly greater. Finally, after a great battle, the two of them parted ways. While Tang Xian and Huang Shan were cultivating in seclusion to strive for Tier 7 of the divine level, Zhao Hao and concubine Shu were also improving at a rapid pace. Zhao Hao was a rare martial arts genius that was hard to come by even in 1,000 years. He was also able to create a supreme fist technique like the son of heaven's dragon fist, which condensed dragon chi. His martial arts talent was extraordinary. Having received Fang Xingjian's martial arts legacy, he was like a tiger that had grown wings and a fish that had returned to water. He let go of all the important matters of the imperial court and wholeheartedly started to train in seclusion. It was because the exchange with concubine Shu this time around had made him understand the importance of power and realize that he was not strong enough. Moreover, the world was in turmoil now. The disciples of the various higher realms' immortal sects in the central continent were stirring up trouble, seizing resources and wealth. Without sufficient power, there was no way for him to suppress these disciples. Therefore, regardless of whether it was a high-ranking official being killed, the northern herdsmen rebelling, the southern chieftains rebelling, the increasing number of bandits, or the many prestigious clans watching from the sidelines with the support of the immortal sect's disciples, trying their best to extract resources, Zhao Hao did not come out of seclusion. For 3 whole months, as chaos broke out everywhere in the world, countless disciples of the immortal sects discovered the disappearance of the Interrealm Gate. Things took a turn for the worse, and they had less and less apprehension. From time to time, there would be disciples of the immortal sects killing the officials of the imperial court or declaring themselves as kings, or slaughtering the rich and powerful. There was even a disciple of the Great Sun sect killing the governor of a province, looting the Hall of Peculiarity, and taking away half a year's worth of tributes from the entire western region. The world was shaken and the people were terrified, but Zhao Hao stayed in the secret room and cultivated in seclusion. It had been far, far too long since Zhao Hao had devoted himself to cultivation like this. With his aptitude, he usually had to manage yin and yang, govern the country, and hide the entire world in his heart. Even if he only diverted a small portion of his attention to cultivation, his cultivation would still increase with each passing day. And after concentrating on training, the effect was even more obvious. In particular, Fang Xingjian's legacy was far too complete and systematic. It almost perfectly guided cultivators on how to strive to reach Tier 7 of the divine level from Tier 1 of the divine level. This was of great help to Zhao Hao. Therefore, 3 months later, the world was in chaos, and the disciples of various immortal sects took up territories and established themselves as kings. Zhao Hao finally came out of seclusion. Right now, he had secretly cleared several levels of the nine-tiered heavens and reached Tier 5 of the divine level at one go. Amongst the many martial arts legacies, Zhao Hao was most fond of and invested in the Royal Heavenly Great Art and the Ascendant Heavenly Seal. He combined them with his Son of Heaven's Dragon Fist and created the Heavenly Emperor's Dragon Fist. From the name of this neo-martial art, one could tell Zhao Hao's ambition. After obtaining Fang Xingjian's martial arts legacy and his whereabouts in the higher realm were unknown, the ambition in Zhao Hao's heart was burning up like flames. After coming out of seclusion, he swept through the world. With his Tier 5 divine level cultivation and the Heavenly Emperor's Dragon Fist, ordinary immortal sects disciples were no match for him. After killing 12 immortal sects disciples who were between Tier 2 to 5 of the divine level, Zhao Hao soon shocked the world and stabilized the situation. During this process, he obtained many martial arts and resources from the higher realms of mortal sects and started to strive for Tier 6 of the divine level. Just as he was wiping out the immortal sects disciples, the remaining immortal sects disciples also banded together, planning to kill Zhao Hao and divide the world equally. Relying on Fang Xingjian's martial arts legacy, Empress Shu went into seclusion for several months and also reached Tier 5 of the divine level. She became the strongest expert among the immortal sect's disciples and focused on cultivating the 7 emotions sword and heart sword path in Fang Xingjian's martial arts legacy. Relying on her absolute power, as well as the 7 emotions sword and heart sword path's power to grasp the hearts of people, Empress Shu performed a series of methods that allowed her to summon clouds and rain with a flip of her palms. Very soon, she gained control over all the immortal sect's disciples. Cheng-Li established the Myriad Immortals Association and became their leader, fighting against Zhao Hao. As the battle progressed, the attacks between the two parties became increasingly intense. Although there were many divine-level experts in the Myriad Immortals Association, none of them, including Empress Shu, were a match for Zhao Hao. Zhao Hao's Heavenly Emperor's Dragon Fist had gathered the dragon chi and the people's will from a large part of the central continent. Each punch and kick contained a tremendous force that was hard to fend off, and he managed to suppress them single-handedly. However, because the other party had a large number of people, Zhao Hao did not manage to wipe them all out in one go in order to not endanger the commoners. Half a year later, he attained another breakthrough and reached Tier 6 of the divine level. With a single Heavenly Emperor's Dragon Fist, the entire Myriad Immortals Association was annihilated. Several tens of divine-level experts were either killed or subdued. Empress Shu was even captured alive by Zhao Hao and brought back to the palace, where she was personally suppressed. With this, the world was settled, and all the people were loyal to him. Zhao Hao's Heavenly Emperor's Dragon Fist became increasingly unfathomable. Seething dragon chi continued to pour onto his body, connecting his will with all the people in the world. Each and every one of his actions affected the entire world. It was also at this moment that Tang Xian and Huang Shan parted ways. The former continued to focus on his cultivation, while the latter headed straight to the palace, wanting to control Zhao Hao. Huang Shan had thought that with his cultivation at Tier 7 of the divine level, he would be able to crush Zhao Hao and control him easily. After all, Tier 7 of the divine level meant that he had the ability to accelerate time. However, he had not expected that although Zhao Hao's cultivation was only at Tier 6 of the divine level, he had unified the world and gained the loyalty of all the people. This allowed his Heavenly Emperor's Dragon Fist to reach an unbelievable level. Even when Huang Shan unleashed his full power, he was unable to break through Zhao Hao's Heavenly Palace's defenses. As the two of them fought, the atmosphere in the entire imperial capital sky was completely vaporized during the battle. Countless people were exposed to the radiation from the starry sky, and the imperial capital could be said to have suffered heavy casualties on this day. Although Huang Shan was unable to break through Zhao Hao's defenses, Zhao Hao was also unable to truly defeat Huang Shan, who could accelerate time. Chapter 1133. After a period of stalemate, the two of them had no choice but to shake hands and make peace. Huang Shan was conferred the title of Martial King and occupied the land of an entire province. It now looked like a country within a country. However, this was clearly not what Zhao Hao wanted. With the reinforcement from the Lives Wisdom Seal, Zhao Hao spent a large amount of time cultivating in seclusion every day, constantly using the wisdom of all living beings in the world to help him deduce Feng Xingzhan's martial arts legacy. His cultivation kept on making breakthroughs. Huang Shan was naturally unwilling to be ruled by a lowly commoner from the lower realm. He secretly contacted Tang Xian to kill Zhao Hao together and divide the world equally. Thus, the two of them joined forces to launch a sneak attack on Zhao Hao, who was in seclusion in the imperial palace. Zhao Hao had no choice but to escape with serious injuries. Huang Shan and Tang Xian condensed a clone with a hint of their martial will, pretending to be Zhao Hao and ruling over the world. Meanwhile, Zhao Hao was hiding in the dark, silently accumulating his strength. It was also at this moment that the empire changed hands, and his Heavenly Emperor Dragon Fist was mostly crippled. He had no choice but to study the other martial arts that Feng Xingzhan had passed down. During this 1 year, he was pursued crazily by Huang Shan and Tang Xian. However, he did not feel discouraged and continued to improve. He integrated high-dimensional sword arts and the 9 Lives Helix, turning the 28 stances of the Heavenly Emperor's Dragon Fist into the 10 stances of the Dragon Fist. He achieved great success in his martial arts and strived for Tier 7 of the divine level. 1 month later, Zhao Hao challenged Tang Xian and Huang Shan at the top of the Heavenly Mountain with his cultivation at Tier 7 of the divine level. Under the starry sky, Fang Xingjian looked at the central continent that was still accelerating. He had watched the entire process of the central continent from beginning to end, witnessing every step of Zhao Hao's growth. However, Yuri Thai, who was at the side, had frowned at the start. Later on, he became anxious and nervous, and then he fell silent. There were many things that he could not put into words in his eyes. Fang Xingjian faintly said, "What does a person's destiny consist of?" In just a few short days, they had walked a path that normal people would never be able to walk in their entire lives. They had obtained power that normal people would never be able to imagine, and all of this was just something that I had casually bestowed upon them. Then in the eyes of the demon god, are we the same as Zhao Hao? There's no difference. Yuri Thai did not say a word. He looked at the central continent that kept on accelerating, and a hint of perplexity flashed in the depths of his gaze. They had spent countless years, gone through countless hardships, and obtained their cultivation base through countless hardships. Yet, under the guidance of Fang Xingjian, others were able to catch up to them quickly. Moreover, Zhao Hao's aptitude, resources, legacy, personality, and willpower were all far inferior to him. The biggest reason he could reach his current level was because Fang Xingjian had passed on his martial arts legacy to him. To them, the demon god was the same. An ordinary knight's countless years of cultivation could not compare to a divine spell bestowed by the devil god. A martial artist might be born inferior to you in terms of talent, background, and willpower. Because of these innate reasons, they would always be surpassed by you. On the other hand, a person who surpassed you in terms of aptitude, background, and effort could be trampled under your feet forever just because of a thought from a higher existence. Then what was the deciding factor between the strong and the weak? Thinking of this, Yuri Thai could not help but sigh and say, it's because this multivariate universe might have been unfair to begin with. Some people might be born with powers and influences that you'll never be able to surpass in your entire life. A single thought from them would be able to wipe out you, your race, and your civilization completely. Sometimes, even if a person surpasses you in all aspects, they might still be surpassed and defeated by you in the end due to a series of probabilities. Regardless of whether it's the starting point of one's birth or the ending point of one's death, there's no concept of fairness in this universe. Everything is just the collapse of probabilities. Yuri Thai sighed and said, and the tragic thing is that even though we know that our hard work might be instantly negated by a higher existence due to some minute probability and then completely wiped out, we still have no choice but to continue persevering. This is probably the cruelty of this universe. It leaves us with both hope and despair at the same time. Fang Xingjian did not say anything. However, his anticipation towards freedom and breaking away from the devil god's control was getting higher and higher. Looking at the central continent that kept on accelerating and Zhao Hao who kept on fighting, Fang Xingjian felt that the two of them were like bacteria in a petri dish that had been nurtured by someone to achieve a certain goal. This feeling made Fang Xingjian experience the cruelty of the universe. In this universe, it seemed that there was no need for a reason for anything to happen. The differences between individuals were nothing more than the consequences of a series of probabilities such as aptitude, background, encounters, will, and so on. An expert might be killed in the next second, while a weakling might instantly become someone at the top of the world. The strong and the weak would always be in relative changes, and what most lives could do was just accept it. Elsewhere, Zhao Hao's battle with Tang Xian and Huang Shan had already reached its climax. Both parties were Tier 7 Divine level experts, but Zhao Hao had integrated the Royal Heavenly Great Art, Ascendant Heavenly Seal, High-Dimensional Sword Arts, and 9 Lives Helix to create the Dragon Fist. Faced with this supreme martial technique that could steal the world's destiny, deliver high-dimensional attacks, and even carry out certain probabilistic manipulations, Tang Xian and Huang Shan kept on being defeated the moment they came into contact. Later on, although each of them unleashed their potential and their martial arts cultivation kept on increasing, they were still firmly suppressed by Zhao Hao. In the end, Zhao Hao attained a breakthrough in high-dimensional sensory abilities during the battle. and his marshal will also surpass 10,000 after being tempered by stealing the world's destiny. With a punch, the world let out a long cry, and countless gales and clouds seethed. The sounds of the earth's tectonic plates, trembling, gathered together, as if letting out a series of dragon roars. Under the tremors of the world's sounds, Huangshan's body shattered bit by bit, turning into a series of light spots that dissipated into the atmosphere. Tang Xian looked at Zhao Hao in the sky with a grim countenance and asked, "What fist technique is this?" "You can call him heaven-devouring." Zhao Hao stood proudly in void space, sensing the world's fusion. It was a feeling as if everything in the world was under his control. In void space, invisible dragon cheese kept on seething, and the probabilities of fate were slightly stirred, prying out a tremendous amount of energy from the universe. Engulfing dragon cheese to defy the world. What a heaven-devouring. Tang Xian shook his head. "I didn't expect that I'd eventually be defeated by an aboriginal from a lower realm like you." Millions of years ago, there was no such thing as a division between the higher and lower realms. Wasn't the so-called higher and lower realms forcefully decided by you guys? Zhao Hao said calmly. "From now on, there's no longer any division between the two realms." Tang Xian shook his head. "If the higher realm still existed, how could you be so arrogant?" Moreover, Fang Xingjian's appearance appeared in Tang Xian's mind. Even now, he still did not know the outcome of the battle between Fang Xingjian and Venerable Master Zhai Xing. He did not know if both of them had entered the higher realm. However, to Zhao Hao, Tang Xian's words were merely a last-ditch struggle. Throughout his path of cultivation and battles, he would always encounter opponents who were stronger than him each time. However, he managed to overcome them time and time again, forging endless confidence and disposition. Hearing Tang Xian's words, he merely smiled calmly. "I only hate the fact that the three great immortal sects aren't around. Otherwise, I'll definitely flatten the higher realm and command the immortals. I'll truly be the one and only in the entire world." He stared at Tang Xian and said, "All right, Tang Xian, I could tell that you're a talent. Are you willing to join me and serve me?" Tang Xian did not say anything. Instead, his mouth opened slightly, revealing a surprised expression. Chapter 1134. Zhao Hao frowned. In his senses, there were no abnormalities in the surroundings. He did not understand why Fang Xingjian was surprised. Just then, Fang Xingjian's voice rang out in his mind. "He's looking at me." Zhao turned his head abruptly and saw that Fang Xingjian had unknowingly been standing behind him. Fang Xingjian punched out, and as the world's dragon's roar rang out, the ether particles in the atmosphere seethed intensely. The spot where Fang Xingjian was it instantly turned into a vacuum, cutting off all heat energy, light energy, and microparticles. However, in Zhao Hao's eyes, Fang Xingjian was still standing there unscathed. Frowning, Zhao Hao finally recalled Fang Xingjian's identity. He was the mysterious man who had appeared before him in Empress Shu and then disappeared. It was from that day onwards that many martial arts legacies appeared in his consciousness. Tang Xian's countenance kept on changing. In fact, after receiving the martial arts legacies, both he and Huangshan had made various guesses about this. However, they were unable to detect Fang Xingjian's traces and could only accept the legacies and cultivate martial arts. Upon seeing Fang Xingjian's appearance, Tang Xian immediately said, "Did you arrange all of this? You're the real mastermind?" Zhao Hao reacted as well. "Our martial arts were all imparted to us by you." Looking at Zhao Hao's and Tang Xian's gazes, Fang Xingjian said calmly, "That's right. In the past, you guys were too weak and weren't of much help to me. But now, you're barely enough. So that's how it is." Zhao Hao was right. "You're really the mastermind. You want to watch us fight to the death and then reap the benefits?" As he spoke, Huangshan slowly walked down from the 9-tiered heavens, clearly emitting the aura of a Tier 8 divine level expert. Tang Xian also stood up, and a similar figure descended from the sky, merging with his body. He had also stepped into Tier 8 of the divine level. In the direction of the imperial capital, The clone that was impersonating Zhao Hao took a step forward, turning into a stream of sword light and piercing into Zhao Hao's body. The two of them merged into one, and he had also stepped into Tier 8 of the divine level. You didn't expect this, did you? Tang Xian stared straight ahead and said, Do you think that we don't know anything and just foolishly fight and kill each other? Zhao Hao's countenance was extremely calm, and his eyes revealed a hint of wisdom. I know that you're very strong, but no matter how strong you are, the three of us have all reached Tier 8 of the divine level. We'll be able to destroy the central continent in an instant and bring the disaster to the western land. Both worlds will be destroyed in a violent explosion. You don't want that to happen, do you? It seemed that not only had the three of them formed an alliance long ago, but they had also exchanged some information about Fang Xingjian. Tang Xian and Huang Shan knew that he came from the western land. The three of them had never thought of being able to defeat Fang Xingjian. Therefore, they wanted to rely on their Tier 8 divine level cultivation to use the destruction of two worlds as a bargaining chip to threaten Fang Xingjian. I see. Fang Xingjian didn't look surprised at all. He tilted his head and said, Is it the double moon projection? The two of you went to another parallel universe together and discussed the countermeasures there? Afterward, your true forms hid in other worlds and communicated with each other through high-dimensional sensory abilities, only revealing your strength now and coming back? Since that's the case, you should have left a clone in a parallel universe as a backup plan. That's right. You won't be able to sense our situation in other universes. Zhao Hao looked at Fang Xingjian solemnly and said, Also, don't doubt our determination. As long as you have any intention to attack, we'll do our best to attack the central continent. With our cultivation, even if we were to leak out a hint of our powers, it'll be enough to cause the entire central continent's tectonic plates to crack, mountain peaks to collapse, and the entire continent to sink into the sea. The tsunami that will be triggered will be enough to engulf the western land. I'll say this again, we're serious. Fang Xingjian did not say anything, but his eyes revealed an intense disappointment. This is your plan? How pathetic. As they spoke, Fang Xingjian disappeared. The three of them were slightly stunned, not understanding what was going on. At the next moment, amidst a series of dizziness, when the three of them regained their senses, they discovered that they had already turned into 3 pieces of gemstones. Zhao Hao suddenly thought of Fang Xingjian, who had not shown any reaction to his punch earlier, and immediately understood. Have we already fallen into his illusion from the moment we first saw him? Looking at the gemstones that were created using 3 Tier 8 divine level experts as raw materials, Fang Xingjian did not show any hint of joy on his face. It was because he was wondering if he was the same as Zhao Hao and the other two in the demonic god's eyes. He had racked his brains and performed all the means he could, but it was still meaningless in the end. However, Fang Xingjian soon cast these aside and communicated with the 3 people who had turned into gemstones through his martial will. I want to re-establish the connection between the higher realm and this place. The 3 of you have grasped the powers of Tier 8 divine level experts and have clones left behind in the higher realm. Zhao Hao has also grasped the powers of high-dimensional sensory abilities. We need the 3 of you to do your best to sense yourselves in the higher realm and establish a connection. The 3 of them were stunned for a moment before they heard Fang Xingjian continue. If you can help me find the higher realm, I can let you guys off. Hearing this, the trio's hearts skipped a beat. Zhao Hao immediately asked, How can we ascertain if what you said is the truth? You guys have no other choice. After a period of silence, invisible waves were emitted from the trio's bodies. Fang Xingjian's martial will was slowly channeled into the 3 gemstones, replenishing their depletion. All right, don't resist. Focus on sensing your clones. Countless quantum foam flashed and disappeared before Fang Xingjian. It was as if countless worlds were flashing past him. Fang Xingjian controlled the consciousness in the 3 gemstones, relying on the hint of connection between their martial wills and Zhao Hao's high-dimensional sensory abilities to strengthen the connection with his clones. Fang Xingjian frantically searched for the higher realm's location through the quantum foam. It's here. 3 days and 3 nights later, the 3 gemstones instantly burst out with piercing white light. Fang Xingjian tapped out with a finger, and the quantum foam instantly enlarged, turning into a triangular door. Fang Xingjian took a step forward and entered it. The 3 gemstones floated around him slowly. Looking at the brand new world before him, Fang Xingjian's eyes narrowed slightly. The sky was filled with dark clouds, and the sun revolved around a huge piece of floating land. The entire land was formed from countless islands, peninsulas, and all sorts of lands in the world that the central continent was in. The ether particle density was 10 times that of the central continent, and the land was filled with dense vegetation and various medicinal herbs that were beneficial to martial arts cultivation. Tang Xian, who had turned into a gemstone, looked at the scene before him, sighed, and said, "We're here. This is the higher realm. We've found the right place." Chapter 1135. Taking a look at the higher realm before him, Fang Xingjian understood. This world had not only shifted the space of the planet that the central continent was on, but it had also shifted a world that was pieced together from all the other continents and small islands other than the central continent. The higher realm has already brought you here. Can you let us go now? Tang Xian asked. Fang Xingjian did not reply. He merely waved his hand, turning the 3 people before him back to their human forms. Simultaneously, he placed restrictions on them. Zhao Hao's countenance changed, sensing that it was difficult for him to mobilize the martial will in his body. He said, "Why? Are you going back on your word?" "I want to look for Venerable Master Zhai Xing, but I can't look for him directly." "I'll need your help," Fang Xingjian said. Venerable Master Zhai Xing was a Tier 9 divine level expert after all. If he were to fully focus on escaping or even heading to other parallel worlds, Fang Xingjian did not have 100% confidence in being able to make him stay behind. Moreover, it was impossible for Fang Xingjian to leave behind such a Tier 9 divine level expert in his backyard as a latent danger before his plan to go up against the demonic gods. Therefore, he hoped to be able to get close to Venerable Master Zhai Xing secretly. It would be best if he could launch a sneak attack from a close distance, getting rid of most of his powers in one go. This would require the help of the 3 people before him. "As long as you help me get close to Venerable Master Zhai Xing, I'll set you guys free," Fang Xingjian said. However, Huangshan appeared infuriated. "You're messing with us? Previously, you said that you'll let us go after you find the higher realm. Yet now, you want us to help you get close to Venerable Master Zhai Xing? What kind of joke is this?" Fang Xingjian's cold gaze swept past Huangshan's body, causing Huangshan to shiver uncontrollably. It was as if a strange chill was being emitted from all over his body. "I'm not begging you. I'm threatening you." Hearing this, Huangshan was slightly stunned. Hints of fury flashed in his eyes, but he did not rebut. Tang Xian patted Huangshan on the shoulder, looked at Fang Xingjian, and said, "All right, we understand your request. But if you want us to help you, you can't possibly restrict us, right?" Fang Xingjian nodded and snapped his fingers. The 3 of them felt that the restraints on them had disappeared without a trace. However, at the next moment, an invisible power invaded their consciousness. It was said to be invisible because even with their Tier 8 divine level cultivation, Zhao Hao and the other 2 were unable to understand the transmission method, attributes, and how much this power was. The reason why they could sense a power being channeled into their consciousness was because the other party wanted them to sense. Zhao Hao's expression changed slightly as he asked, "What is this?" "Xingjian, at them Xingjian at." Fang Xingjian said, at. Fang Xingjian said. Fang. Although the 3 of them were infuriated, they did not dare to say anything out of fear of Fang Xingjian's despotic power. "All right, let's get some information first and come up with a way to get close to Venerable Master Zhai Xing." Fang Xingjian moved, and his entire body went through a series of changes. His appearance changed drastically, turning from his original appearance into that of a middle-aged man. His aura also completely simulated the ripples that a Tier 7 divine level expert would have toward spacetime. On the other side, Fang Xingjian's voice rang out in their minds. Let's go. We'll head to the nearest sect first. Tang Xian and Huang Shan, the two of you see if you can get in touch with the people from the Repose Palace. The immortal sects in the upper realm were adjacent to each other, and each sect was a city. Of course, not everyone in the city was from a sect. There were also many mortals who worked as servants. After all, low-level cultivators also needed to eat, drink, and defecate. These things naturally required people to serve them. So the major sects in the upper realm also kept many mortals as slaves. Fang Xingjian searched through the trio's memories and found out that Tang Xian and Huang Shan were from the Repose Palace. They were the Repose Palace's true disciples. After all, having a cultivation of Tier 6 divine level, they would be considered experts even in the upper realm. In comparison, Zhao Hao's status in the upper realm was much more ordinary. He was merely an ordinary disciple in the Myriad Swords Mountain Villa. Therefore, if Fang Xingjian wished to come into contact with Venerable Master Zhai Xing, he planned on taking the Repose Palace's route. A short moment later, the four of them turned into a stream of light and landed in a nearby city. Two streams of light immediately came up to them. They were two young ladies dressed in white palace clothes. Tang Xian took a step forward and asked, I'm Tang Xian from the Repose Palace. I was cultivating in seclusion outside earlier. May I know where this place is? The upper realm was formed from all the lands on the planet other than the central continent. It could be said to be extremely vast. Coupled with the abundance of resources and the high density of ether particles, after countless years of development, the population had increased tremendously, and martial arts experts had emerged endlessly. Almost no one knew how many people there were in the upper realm, how many experts there were, and how many experts and old monsters from the past were still alive or where they were cultivating in seclusion. Therefore, it was very easy for the two ladies to believe Tang Xian's words. However, upon hearing that he was from the Repose Palace, the two ladies exchanged a glance, and one of them said, Senior Tang, please restrain your grief and accept the inevitable. Tang Xian's countenance changed, and he immediately asked, Could it be that something has happened to our Repose Palace? The two ladies exchanged a glance, and their expressions were filled with pity and pity. 3 days ago, old ancestor Zhai Xing sent down a decree to unify all the sects in the world. The Repose Palace and the other 32 immortal sects didn't comply and were suppressed. A total of 26 people from the Repose Palace, from the palace master to the personal disciples, had their conjured physiques destroyed. Thereafter, the entire Repose Palace submitted to old ancestor Zhai Xing. What? Tang Xian and Huang Shan listened to this news in astonishment. Their eyes were filled with fury, astonishment, and perplexity. They could not believe that a large part of their sect had been wiped out just like that. It was only after a series of exchanges that everyone understood what was going on. It turned out that over 10 days ago, the Flying Celestial Sect had released news that their sect master, Venerable Master Zhai Xing, had discussed the Tao with the Heavenly Emperor and immortal Yuqing outside the Nine Heavens. He had used unrivaled martial arts to demonstrate his remarkable abilities, subduing the Heavenly Emperor and immortal Yuqing. After the news was released, the world was shaken. However, the Ascendant Heavenly Sect and the Longevity Palace did not give any reply even after a long time had passed. This further intensified the spread of the news. 3 days later, Venerable Master Zhai Xing split into two and paid a visit to the Ascendant Heavenly Sect and the Longevity Palace at the same time. One day and one night later, the Ascendant Heavenly Sect and the Longevity Palace simultaneously announced that they were submitting to the Flying Celestial Sect, becoming the Flying Celestial Sect subordinates. All of a sudden, the world was in a state of turmoil, and the entire higher realm seemed to be welcoming a great earthquake. Thereafter, Venerable Master Zhai Xing announced that he was going to unify the various sects in the higher realm, gather the world's powers, and create the legendary Gate of Destinies. He was going to lead all the people in the higher realm to attain a breakthrough to Tier 9 of the divine level, pass through the world's restrictions, and reach the other shore. Thereafter, many sects refused to submit and were unwilling to join the Flying Celestial sect. They were then defeated by Venerable Master Zhai Xing. Chapter 1136. Gate of Destinies? What kind of joke is that? This thing is just a legend, Tang Xian said furiously. The Gate of Destinies was a legend in this world. According to ancient legends, after the first batch of cultivators in this world stepped into Tier 9 of the divine level, they gathered endless resources to create a Gate of Destinies in order to reach a higher realm and break through the world's restraints. As long as one passed through the Gate of Destinies, they would be able to turn from a human into a god, break through the world's restraints, reach the other shore, and attain the great Tao. Therefore, Tang Xian's first reaction when he heard this was that it was unreliable. However, the lady in palace attire said, that might not be the case. It's rumored that old ancestor Zhai Xing has obtained the legacy of the ancient heavenly court and found the method to create the Gate of Destinies. The Longevity Palace and the Ascendant Heavenly Sect have both confirmed this matter. Therefore, our 100 Rivers sect plans on joining in as well. With that, the 100 Rivers sect's female disciple, Gong Yuyin, carefully threw a glance at Tang Xian and Huang Shan. After giving it some thought, she still reminded them, Seniors, now that old ancestor Zhai Xing is comprehending destinies and his cultivation is exceedingly high, please restrain your grief and be careful. She had wanted to advise them not to harbor any thoughts of revenge. Otherwise, they would still be beaten to death. However, when the words reached her lips, she still felt that they were not close enough. Therefore, she ended up advising them to be careful instead. Huang Shan let out a cold laugh and wanted to tell them the truth. How could that venerable master Zhai Xing be so amazing as to be able to defeat the other 2 Tier 9 divine level experts? He had clearly been defeated by Fang Xingjian together. He had escaped back alone and then bullied the Heavenly Emperor and Immortal Yuqing, whose main bodies have been defeated. Right now, the Heavenly Emperor and Immortal Yuqing were probably only left with a hint of their clones in the Longevity Palace and the Ascendant Heavenly Sect. That was why they could only submit to Venerable Master Zhai Xing's martial prowess. However, just as Huang Shan wanted to say this, he was stopped by Fang Xingjian. Fang Xingjian was naturally unwilling for his side to expose their tracks so easily. Tang Xian composed himself and said, Thank you for your reminder, miss. We'll be returning to the sect first. Farewell. With that, the 4 of them left. Gong Yuyin's junior sister sighed and said, Senior sister, do you think they will take things too hard and seek revenge? Looking at the 3 people who had left, Gong Yuyin shook her head and sighed, saying, I only hope that they could be a little more rational. Even the Heavenly Emperor and Immortal Yuqing have been defeated. Right now, there's probably no one in the higher realm who can go up against Venerable Master Zhai Xing. On the other hand, Tang Xian and the other 3 hurried over to the Repose Palace and saw a huge city situated in the basin appearing before their eyes. Every road and every building was squarish. Clearly, they had been strictly divided. However, there wasn't any liveliness in Freedom City at the moment. Everyone shut their doors tightly, and the streets were filled with white mourning clothes. It gave off a gloomy feeling. Tang Xian frowned and immediately descended towards the center of the city. As he was descending, several cultivators came up to him. When a young man in the lead saw Tang Xian, he immediately revealed an excited expression. Senior Brother Tang, you're finally back. Senior Brother Huang, you're back too. Tang Xian looked at the young man in the lead and sighed. He asked, Junior Brother Ning, what's going on? Ning Chongxiao had a sorrowful look on his face as he said, Senior Brother, the Flying Celestial Sect wants us to hand over all the manuals in the palace, open up the treasury, and share the resources. They say that once the Gate of Destinies is completed, they will allow us to enter and reach the other shore. How could Master and the others agree? He immediately rejected their request. In the end, old scoundrel Zhai Xing personally made a move and completely shattered the the martial wills of Master and the others. He did not even leave a single clone behind. Hearing Ning Chongxiao's words, Tang Xian's countenance turned livid. "You're going too far," another junior brother advised. "Senior brother Tang, be careful with your words. Now that the Flying Celestial Sect is powerful and Master and the others have all passed away, we have no choice but to lower our heads. Otherwise, the Repose Palace's 1,000-year foundation will be destroyed in our hands." Ning Chongxiao said bitterly, "Senior brother Tang, junior brother Song is right. Although we have an irreconcilable feud with the Flying Celestial Cult, we can only lie low and bear with it for the time being. Thankfully, senior brother, you managed to avoid this calamity and have returned. You can once again support our Repose Palace. The Flying Celestial Sect's 100 Sects Grand Ceremony will be held in a few days' time. Venerable Master Zhai Xing will officially become the Alliance Chief of the Higher Realm's Immortal Sect's 100 Sects. I was worried that there would be no one in the Repose Palace and that we would be bullied. It's good that you're back now." 100 Sects Grand Ceremony? Tang Xian felt a surge of resentment in his chest. However, when he looked at the calm and collected Fang Xingjian, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He felt extremely thankful that he had brought Fang Xingjian along. With such a great character around, he could take care of Venerable Master Zhai Xing. At the thought of this, Tang Xian instructed Ning Chongxiao, "All right, junior brother Ning, these two are friends I got to know outside. Arrange the best guest rooms for them. We'll be participating in the 100 Sects Grand Ceremony in a few days' time." Just at this moment, a cold snort rang out. Then, several old men leaped through the air and stood before Tang Xian, coldly sweeping their gazes over him and Huangshan. These few old men were dressed in luxurious clothes, and their auras soared into the sky. Their faces were filled with insufferably arrogant expressions. When they saw Tang Xian and Huangshan, they also had a slightly judgmental gaze. The white-haired old man in the lead said slowly, "Tang Xian, Huangshan, I didn't see you guys during the sex calamity. Why are you back now?" Ning Chongxiao frowned and secretly sent a voice transmission. "Senior brother, Elder D and the others have always been in favor of joining the Flying Celestial Sect. When the sect master died in battle, all of them chose to surrender. They've been promoting the benefits of joining the Flying Celestial Sect. They were supposed to be the ones leading the team for the 100 Sects meet this time around. Thankfully, senior brother, you're back." Hearing this, Tang Xian's eyes narrowed, and there seemed to be a flash of killing intent. These few elders were clearly from the side of surrendering. They might have even been bribed by the Flying Celestial Sect a long time ago. "What do you guys think?" Ning Chongxiao said seriously. "Our Repose Palace is inferior to them. In order to preserve our foundation, we can submit to the Flying Celestial Sect." Although Ning Chongxiao and the others hated the Flying Celestial Sect, they were not brainless fools. They only knew that if they were to stubbornly resist now, they would only be exhausting the sect to death. They already had plans for the future development. However, even if we submit, we can't completely lean toward the Flying Celestial Sect without any bottom line. The Repose Palace must maintain a certain degree of autonomy to ensure the integrity and independence of the legacy. "I understand. Seems like Elder D and the others don't think this way," Tang Xian said. "That's right. Elder D and the others are in favor of leaning toward the Flying Celestial Sect completely." Hearing that, Tang Xian let out a cold snort but did not say anything. However, his expression toward the few elders became even more hostile. Chapter 1137. Elder D said, "Tang Xian, you've just returned and aren't familiar with many things. Listen more and speak less in this 100 lineages meet. Don't make a fool of yourself and let the other sects look down on our Repose Palace." If I don't say anything when the time comes, there probably won't be a Repose Palace anymore," Tang Xian said calmly. Elder D frowned and said, "Tang Xian, what do you mean?" As he said that, the matter around him started to move at an accelerated speed. He activated the Tier 7 Divine level ability, and time accelerated. However, Tang Xian did not say anything. Instead, he asked Fang Xingjian for instructions through his martial will. It's fine if I teach him a lesson, right? No problem, but don't beat him to death. I still have to get close to Venerable Master Zhai Xing during the 100 Lineages meeting. With a move, Tang Xian activated time stillness. He struck out with his palm, and surging martial will gushed out like a great river, impacting the few elders. In the blink of an eye, several elders were engulfed by the power. Time flowed again. Before they could react, the conjured bodies of Elder D and the others had already been destroyed. Elder D and the others moved out while bellowing furiously. As they reassembled, they kept on moving through space to avoid the remnant martial will. Time stopped. Tier 8 of the Divine level. Senior Brother Tang has reached Tier 8 of the Divine level. Hearing the cheers from the surrounding disciples, Elder D slowly stood up. However, he no longer dared to bring up the matter of making a move. Instead, he looked at Tang Xian with a surprised and doubtful expression. Good. Tang Xian, I didn't expect you to have stepped into Tier 8 of the Divine level. However, be it Tier 6 of the Divine level or Tier 8 of the Divine level, the general trend of the world won't change. The 100 sects will converge and create the Gate of Destinies. This is a great plan for the world, and anyone who wishes to stop it will be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. You're on your own. Upon seeing Elder D and the others leave, the surrounding disciples cheered and sent Tang Xian back to the Repose Palace. Over the next few days, he and Huang Shan would occasionally guide the various disciples and summon the remaining experts and seniors in the sect. In just a few days' time, he had already gained control over most of the Repose Palace. Surrounded by the masses, he seemed to have the disposition of the Repose Palace's palace master. As for Elder D and the others, after they were defeated, they never appeared again. No one knew where they went. As for Fang Xingjian, after he arrived, he stayed in the guest room and did not do anything else. He only appeared again on the day of the 100 Lineages meet. The day of the 100 Lineages meet finally arrived. Therefore, Tang Xian, Huang Shan, Zhao Hao, and Fang Xingjian brought along Ning Chongxiao and over 10 other disciples from the Repose Palace to head to the Flying Celestial Sect, Flying Celestial Valley, to participate in the 100 Lineages meet. Just as he arrived in the sky above the Flying Celestial Valley, he saw auspicious clouds covering the sky and layers of colorful divine light surrounding it. It was a scene of birds chirping and flowers fragrant. In the sky above a radius of 50 kilometers, there were colorful lights flashing by from time to time. They were all immortal sects that had come to participate in the 100 sects meet. From afar, there was indeed the aura of a myriad of immortals paying homage to them. It made the many disciples in the Repose Palace feel even more oppressed. Tang Xian led everyone to the entrance of the valley. Very soon, they were welcomed by attendants and arrived at a public square. There were people coming and going in the public square, and there were jade tables and chairs everywhere. The tables were filled with delicacies. Seeing that there were divine-level experts who were rarely seen everywhere, and even top-notch characters at Tier 6 of the Divine level and above, the many disciples in the Repose Palace gasped. They felt that the Flying Celestial Sect's venerable master, Zhai Xing, was getting increasingly unfathomable. However, not long after Tang Xian entered, he saw Elder D walking over with a white-clothed young man. The venerable master, Zhai Xing, appeared unfriendly, but there was a hint of pride in his eyes. Tang Xian looked at the two of them, frowned, and said, "Elder D, Tang Xian, you've come at the right time. This is the Flying Celestial Sect's true Lord Dongshu. After the 100 Lineages meet, he'll be in charge of receiving our Repose Palace. You should get to know him well." As Elder D spoke, he sent a voice transmission. Tang Xian, after the 100 Lineages meet, the various sects in the world will be managed by the Flying Celestial Sect's 4 true lords. In the future, he'll be your superior. Don't make any more mistakes and implicate the entire Repose Palace. The Flying Celestial Sect had the venerable master Zhai Xing as their leader, and under him were the 4 true lords. All of them were Tier 8 divine level experts, and each of them was a legendary character in the higher realms' immortal sections. Looking at Elder D's smug gaze, Tang Xian smiled coldly and replied, "Do you think that you'll be able to get back at them just because you found a backer? Childish." With that, he left without even looking at perfected Lord Insightful. After all, in Tang Xian's eyes, with Fangxing Zhan's arrival, all the cultivators in the Flying Celestial sect were already dead people. There was nothing more to say. Looking at the departing Tang Xian, true Lord Dongshu's eyes narrowed slightly, and a hint of displeasure flashed in them. Elder D was secretly delighted, but he said, "This Tang Xian has been disrespectful to his elders ever since he joined the sect. Now that he's at Tier 8 of the divine level, he's even more arrogant and condescending. He'll probably cause trouble for the meet today." True Lord Dongshu smiled softly and threw a glance at Elder D, causing the latter's heart to tremble. Now that he's in our Flying Celestial sect, he'll have to lie down even if he's a tiger or a dragon. It's not his place to act impudently. However, I'll personally investigate what this Tang Xian is up to. If someone wishes to use me as a tool, I wouldn't dare to, Elder D immediately said. Tang Xian and the others had just taken a few steps when they encountered the 100 Rivers sect's Gong Yuyin and the others. Gong Yuyin looked at Tang Xian and immediately cupped her hands. "Greetings, Senior." News of Tang Xian's return, his attaining Tier 8 of the divine level, and him leading the Repose Palace had spread throughout the higher realm. Gong Yuyin naturally knew about it as well. The moment she saw Tang Xian, she sent a voice transmission, "Senior Tang, after the meet, the 4 true lords will officially lead the various sects in the world. With the Flying Celestial sect and Venerable Master Zhai Xing's personal endorsement, there's probably no one in the world who will be able to object. This is already an irresistible trend. It's best not to offend the few true lords if possible." Tang Xian smiled. "It's fine. They won't be able to do anything to me." "Oh." Gong Yuyin looked at Tang Xian's confident expression and was slightly surprised. A hint of brilliance flashed in Tang Xian's eyes. While Tang Xian was interacting with the cultivators from the various sects, Fangxing Zhan quietly came to a corner of the venue and stood before a young man. The young man appeared young, but his eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life. He sat in the corner and watched the changes in the venue, appearing as if he had seen through the mortal world. He looked at Fangxing Zhan, who had walked up to him, and asked, "Do we know each other?" Of course. The other party did not recognize him, but Fangxing Zhan was able to see through this young man's background with his high-dimensional vision. Fangxing Zhan said, "Second Prince, it's been a long time." The young man before him was the Empire's second prince. He had said that he would be going into seclusion over a year ago, but had not appeared since. Chapter 1138. Back then, the second prince had gone missing after claiming to be in seclusion. Even major events, such as the evil god ritual, the arrival of the 3 saints in the imperial capital, and the siege of Fangxing Zhan by the Quanji 7 people did not appear. Now, Fangxing Zhan finally understood that the other party had come to the western land and infiltrated the upper realm. Fangxing Zhan's high-dimensional perception ability kept scanning the inside and outside of the other party's body. Tier 6 of the divine level so fast. There are also traces of the Flying Celestial sect's cultivation technique. Fangxing Zhan's gaze flickered a little. The second prince possessed the 10th level of the mystical prince, so his aptitude was naturally top-notch. However, in order to reach Tier 6 of the divine level so quickly, it was clear that the 10th level of the mystical prince was not the only driving force behind it. Fangxing Zhan asked, "So that's how it is. Have you contacted Saint Adam and the formidable divine king?" Previously, Fangxing Zhan had already heard from Eurethai that Saint Adam, formidable divine king Dante, and the other top-notch experts from 1,000 years ago had already picked up the lifespan conversion technique and infiltrated the higher realm's immortal sects in the Western land. Fangxing Zhan guessed that the second prince's rapid advancement was due to the support of Adam and the formidable deity king. Moreover, He had probably strived for the divine level without even returning to Miracle World. This meant that his status in the higher realms of mortal sex was rather high, allowing him to be sent to other parallel worlds with 9-tiered heavens to strive for the divine barrier. Coupled with the traces of the soaring celestial sex cultivation technique on the other party, Fang Xingjian deduced that the other party had most likely entered the core of the soaring celestial sect. When the second prince heard this, his countenance changed slightly. He smiled and said, "Brother, what do you mean by that? What second prince? I'm Duan He from the flying celestial sect. Have you mistaken me for someone else?" Fang Xingjian smiled and sent his voice into the other party's consciousness. The feeling of reaching the 10th level of the mystical prince isn't bad, right? I'm Fang Xingjian. Long time no see, second prince. Hearing this, the second prince was slightly stunned. He immediately replied, "What about eldest sister? How is she?" Fang Xingjian knew that the other party was still probing and replied straightforwardly. The first prince has withdrawn from the fight for the throne and is currently living in the summer palace on the outskirts of the imperial capital. Is that so? The second prince was slightly stunned. He sighed and said, "Xingjian, to think that you've also come to the central continent." Fang Xingjian nodded and voiced out his thoughts. There's no other way. We can't just leave this place alone. There are too many martial arts experts here. If we leave them alone, they'll pose too great a threat to Miracle World. The second prince nodded in deep agreement. The central continent's heritage is too deep. There are as many as 3-tier 9 divine level experts and over 10 to 20-tier 8 divine level experts. Our Miracle World has only obtained the lifespan conversion method for 1,000 years, and it is still in the hands of an extremely small number of people. If we want to catch up to them, we will still need a lot of time. Therefore, we can only implement infiltration and stop their invasion of Miracle World from the inside. We can try our best to delay the 2 world wars and give Miracle World more chances to catch up. As the second prince spoke, his gaze toward Fang Xingjian became increasingly astonished. In the end, he could not help but ask, "Xingjian, your current realm?" "Oh, Tier 7 of the divine level," Fang Xingjian replied. "Tier 7 of the divine level," the second prince said in pleasant surprise. Good. You've really surpassed me. Tier 7 of the divine level. Even in this higher realm, you're already an overlord." Fang Xingjian was not concerned about this. Instead, he asked, "How's your infiltration into the higher realm? Have Adam and the formidable divine king come as well? How much do you guys know about the Gate of Destinies this time around?" Hearing the words Gate of Destinies, the second prince could not help but frown as his gaze deepened. "I unintentionally obtained old ancestor Adam and the formidable divine king's legacies. That's why I followed them all the way here, hiding in the dark and attaining a breakthrough to the divine level in this world. With your talent, I thought that you'd definitely be able to surpass me in the future. By then, you'd be of great help in the battle against the central continent. By the looks of it, your growth is even faster than I imagined. As for the Gate of Destinies, you must have thought that it's fake when you first heard about it." Fang Xingjian's brows twitched. "Oh, could it be real? To tell you the truth, I've already become one of the 10 great direct disciples of the flying celestial sect. I do know some insider information regarding the Gate of Destinies," the second prince explained. "The ancient heavenly court was a powerful influence that ruled over the entire central world several 10,000 years ago. They expended a tremendous amount of resources to build the Gate of Destinies, even causing the entire central world to have a shortage of resources. This was the reason why the upper and lower realms were split into 2, with many experts gathering their resources in the higher realm to cultivate. The main reason why the world was split into 2 was that there was a lack of resources. They needed to gather most of the resources for a small number of people to cultivate in order to control the number of cultivators and the depletion of resources." Fang Xingjian nodded. He finally understood why this world was split into 2 realms, and why the higher realm was so careful toward the central continent, unwilling to destroy the continent's environment. The second prince continued, "As the oldest Tier 9 divine level expert in this world, The venerable master Zhai Xing has indeed obtained the ancient heavenly court's legacies. It's highly possible that he was an expert from the ancient heavenly court who stayed in this world and even obtained a fragment of the Gate of Destinies. Therefore, he wanted to gather the higher realm's resources to reforge the Gate of Destinies. Fang Xingjian nodded and asked, "What on earth is the use of the Gate of Destinies? Why would a fragment be left behind? And where did the people from the ancient heavenly court go?" "Who knows?" The second prince shook his head. "Probably only the venerable master, Zhai Xing himself, knows about this. What we can do is to try our best to delay the process, and then think of ways to find out more information." Back then, the Gate of Destiny's reforging destroyed the entire planet's environment, causing other martial arts experts to have no choice but to translocate space and create another world to cultivate their martial arts. This shows how great the depletion is. I'm worried that the venerable master, Zhai Xing, will set his sights on Miracle World. Fang Xingjian did not say anything, nor did he plan on telling the second prince that he had chased the venerable master Zhai Xing all the way to the higher realm, and that it was impossible for him to return. At the very least, before he killed the venerable master Zhai Xing completely, Fang Xingjian did not plan on revealing any information. It was because he did not know what the second prince, Saint Adam, the formidable divine king, and the other experts' attitudes toward the higher realm and Miracle World were after staying in the higher realm for such a long period of time. Had there been people who had been convinced by the higher realm's culture, background, and martial arts and joined the higher realm's immortal sects? Oh, right. Adam, the formidable divine king, and the others have also come this time around. I'll bring you to meet them. Fang Xingjian followed the second prince and the others to another area of the venue and saw a group of men and women gathered there. The second prince introduced via voice transmission. This is the Flying Celestial Sect's four-corner city. However, a large part of it has already been infiltrated by our people. The city lord and deputy city lord are Adam and the formidable divine king. Fang Xingjian understood and lifted his head to look over. He saw two young men sitting at a jade table, one on the left and the other on the right, in the deepest part of Four Corner City. Chapter 1139. The second prince greeted the people from Four Corner City in a familiar manner. He walked up to the two of them and sent a voice transmission. "Seniors, this is Fang Xingjian, whom I've introduced to you before. He has already reached Tier 7 of the divine level." "Oh." The young man sitting on the left had a square face, and his eyes were filled with wisdom that seemed to have weathered through many hardships. He was Four Corner City's city lord, and his secret identity was Saint Adam, who had dominated Miracle World 1,000 years ago. This young friend is the Fang Xingjian that you've often mentioned, right? He's really a talent, having reached Tier 7 of the divine level at such a young age. His future is limitless. On the other side of the jade table, a young man with sword-like brows, starry eyes, and a face filled with ferocity threw a cold glance toward Fang Xingjian and said, "He's not bad. There's finally another useful person. However, his killing intent is too weak. I wonder how he's doing in actual combat." Adam smiled and said helplessly, "Brother, you can't always compare young people with you." He then turned to look at Fang Xingjian and said, "Since you're here, you must have met Yuri Thai. How is he now?" Fang Xingjian said, "His lifespan is coming to an end." Hearing this, both Adam and the formidable divine king's countenances dimmed slightly. Adam sighed and said, "Sigh, over the past 1,000 years, we've owed the holy sea of truth too much. If it wasn't because each generation of popes sacrificed themselves, the central world would have invaded them a long time ago. Why are you thinking so much? The past is in the past. There's no need to say so much," the formidable divine king said. "Right now, the most crucial problem is still the Gate of Destinies. If we really let that old man Zhai Xing successfully unify the various sects in the world and join forces to build the Gate of Destinies, they'll probably invade the Western land before long." At the mention of this, the few of them frowned deeply. Both Saint Adam and the formidable divine king were currently at Tier 8 of the divine level. Although they were extremely close to Tier 9 of the divine level, they had yet to truly reach it. It was far too difficult to reach Tier 9 of the divine level. It was just like how the Central Continent had such a deep background and had produced many Tier 8 divine level experts in history. However, there were only 3 Tier 9 divine level experts. This showed how difficult it was. Their lack of power meant that they were unable to go up against Venerable Master Zhaixing head-on. The only thing they could do was to stall for time. "Sigh," Adam said. "Call everyone here. Let's discuss this." A short moment later, 5 Tier 7 divine level experts and 12 Tier 6 divine level experts arrived. Some of them were experts who had come here together with Adam 1,000 years ago, while others were experts that Adam and the formidable Divine King had nurtured during the past 1,000 years. Of course, in terms of appearance, they were the same as Adam and the formidable God King. All of them had black hair and black eyes. Everyone gathered together and immediately communicated with each other through martial consciousness. The last emperor of the Tulip dynasty, Charles, who crossed the sea with Adam 1,000 years ago, said, "We can't be so passive anymore. We have to be tougher. If the Flying Celestial sect is allowed to rule over all the sects in the world, the Western continent will no longer have any hope of resisting them. How else can we take the initiative?" Another Tier 7 divine level expert, Saber Saint Themos from 1,000 years ago, said coldly, "Right now, Venerable Master Zhaixing has sealed off the realm traversal gate, and the upper and lower realms have lost contact. We're like turtles trapped in a jar. No one will be able to get out, and Eurythai won't be able to help us either. There isn't even a single Tier 9 divine level expert. Which one of you is going to fend off Venerable Master Zhaixing, the Heavenly Emperor, and the immortal Yuqing? Then what do you think we should do?" The last emperor, Charles, said impatiently, "Recently, the Flying Celestial sect's control has become increasingly stricter. They even have to register their cultivation and report their arrangements every month. From today onward, the 4 true lords will be monitoring the world's 100 sects. If we don't make a move now, we probably won't have a chance to do so in the future. If we make a move, we'll die." "Themos, what do you mean by that? Why are you so afraid of death? Or have you already sided with Zhaixing?" "T. Stop maligning me. I mean that we should contact Eurythai. Without him around, how can we possibly go up against Venerable Master Zhaixing?" Everyone discussed, arguing and blaming each other. However, they were unable to come up with any effective solutions. Adam and the formidable divine King Dante frowned deeply. Finally, the formidable divine King Dante let out a cold snort, and an invisible marshal will scan through everyone present. "Enough! What's with all this commotion?" Adam let out a cough and said in an amicable manner, "All right, we naturally can't go up against them head-on. This time around, we'll use the same old method. We'll contact the various sects and use the excuse of preserving the sect's autonomy and opposing the 4 true lords' direct jurisdiction to delay the Flying Celestial sect's unification process. Remember, we must keep this a secret. We mustn't expose our identities." Adam's words set the tone for everyone's discussion. Adam then looked at Fang Xingjian and asked, "Xingjian, I saw that you came in with Tang Xian. Is this person trustworthy?" "Sure." Fang Xingjian nodded. Hearing his words, everyone's gazes lit up. Adam also said, "All right, if we have the support of a Tier 8 divine level expert, the plan will be much smoother. Xingjian, can I trouble you to talk to Mr. Tang and get him to advance and retreat together with us later?" Fang Xingjian nodded. He naturally did not plan on stepping out to tell everyone about his plan. It was just like how Charles and Saber St. Massos had argued earlier. No one knew if anyone here had already joined the Flying Celestial sect. "All right, with the addition of the Repose Palace's Tang Xian, our influence will be much greater," Charles said. Saber St. Massos also nodded. "The Repose Palace has a great feud with the Flying Celestial sect, but this is our chance." He looked at Xingjian and instructed, "Xingjian, you must explain the situation to Tang Xian later. Even if he doesn't agree, don't offend him." Knowing that the Repose Palace's Tang Xian would be coming to help as well, everyone present felt a little more confident. After all, a Tier 8 divine level expert was the strongest battle prowess other than the venerable Master Zhai Xing, the immortal Yuqing, and the Heavenly Emperor. Fang Xingjian looked at the people who continued to discuss. Then he suddenly turned and asked the second prince, "Are you guys able to grasp the venerable Master Zhai Xing's whereabouts? Or the whereabouts of his clones? How is that possible?" The second prince said, "He's a Tier 9 divine level expert. He can do as he pleases and is unrestrained. How are we going to track him?" Fang Xingjian nodded and did not say anything. However, there were already 5 martial art projections that had descended in the dark. They slowly surrounded the entire place, waiting for old ancestor Zhai Xing to come knocking on their door. In the next few hours, the number of people in the hall increased. Almost 99% of the sects in the world had arrived. In order not to attract any attention, Fang Xingjian also walked back to the Repose Palace's side. With Tang Xian, who had just attained Tier 8 of the divine level, standing in front of him, no one paid him any attention. Tang Xian had also become one of the focal points of countless people present. Various experts took turns to come up to talk, probe, join forces, and bewitch him. Tang Xian was overwhelmed. Fang Xingjian also casually instructed him to cooperate with Adam and the others. Just as the hall became increasingly lively, for streams of terrifying aura soared into the sky. 4 Tier 8 divine level experts slowly stepped into the sky and stood in void space. They were the flying celestial sect's 4 true lords, including true Lord Abstruse Void. The person in the lead was one of the 4 true lords, true Lord Profundity. She was a beautiful young lady dressed in red robes with her hair tied up in a bun. The young lady looked at everyone present, and her cold voice rang out. "Everyone, my master is currently suppressing the fragment of the Gate of Destinies and will only be able to arrive later. Let's start first. The reason why I've invited everyone here today is to gather the powers of the various sects in the world and reforge the Gate of Destinies together, allowing everyone in the higher realm to attain the Great Tao and cross over to the other shore." Chapter 1140. True Lord Profundity's words clearly confirmed the fact that Venerable Master Zhai Xing possessed the Gate of Destiny's fragment. The moment she said this, a commotion broke out. Countless martial wills seethed to and fro in the atmosphere, and everyone's discussions reached a climax. At the sight of the scene, the corners of True Lord Profundity's lips curled up in satisfaction. She continued, "Everyone, please calm down. The Gate of Destinies has the effects of suppressing a world, breaking through the world, and crossing over to the other side. However, a lot of resources are required to forge it. At present, our Flying Celestial Sect, Ascendant Heavenly Sect, and Longevity Palace have decided to join forces to forge the Gate of Destinies. However, it's still not enough for our 3 sects to do it. We still need the support of everyone else." Fang Xingjian's marshal kept on scanning the conjured physiques of the 4 true lords in the sky, but he did not manage to find Venerable Master Zhai Xing's figure. He was not in the mood to see how the 4 true lords are going to subdue the various sects, and how the various sects were going to resist the tug of war. Right now, he only wanted to wait for Venerable Master Zhai Xing's arrival. As True Lord Profundity spoke, a few sects immediately stepped out to express their support. These sects had clearly been subdued a long time ago. As they stepped out, the other sects continued to exchange glances, not taking any action. Clearly, there were only a few who were willing to hand over the authority of their sects just like that. Just as True Lord Profundity was frowning and wanting to use her next move, the Steel Knights Association's chief, a Tier 6 divine level expert, stepped out and said, "True Lord Profundity, everyone's sects have been passed down by their ancestors for several hundred or even several thousand years. We can't just hand them over so easily, right? That's right. The orthodoxy that my master asked me to pass down before he died mustn't be destroyed in my hands. Our Myriad Harmonies sect has been established for 3,000 years. If it were to be destroyed in my hands, I wouldn't have the face to meet my master and grandmaster even after I die. As the Steel Knights Association stepped out, many of the sects present started to make a ruckus. Clearly, none of them were willing to let their sects be merged into the Flying Celestial Sect. Someone even said loudly, for the Flying Celestial Sect to be rebuilt, we'll just provide the money and manpower if we have the money. Why must all the sects be united into one and be merged into your Flying Celestial Sect? That's right, isn't your Flying Celestial Sect a little too overbearing? Upon hearing those words, Perfected Lord Profundity scoffed coldly. For auras surged into the air, an invisible marshal will spread out rapidly, engulfing the entire place. Shockingly, the four great perfected lords of the Flying Celestial Sect had released their auras, using their martial will to suppress the crowd. With this attack, the pressure of a Tier 8 divine level expert encompassed the entire place. Almost 99% of the sects present instantly fell silent, as if they were ducks that had been grabbed by the neck. They were pressed down by the heavy pressure to the point that they could not say a word. Faced with Tier 8 divine level powers, most sects would not even be able to straighten their backs. However, at the same time as their martial wills were sent out, 6 streams of power also soared into the air from the crowd, clashing fiercely with the martial wills of True Lord Profundity and the other 3 in void space. They clashed and caused the space to distort and darken. The ones who had attacked were Adam, Dante, Tang Xian, Huang Shan, Zhao Hao, and the mysterious Firmament Palace's Palace Lord, another Tier 8 divine level expert. A total of 10 Tier 8 divine level experts attacked at the same time, and seething powers clashed and rubbed against each other in the sky above the place. They almost scattered all the sunlight within a range of 1,000 lis, turning it into a stretch of darkness. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Tang Xian smiled coldly and said, "Why? You're going to fight just because you can't come to an agreement? Is this how the Flying Celestial Sect does things?" Behind Perfected Lord Profundity, Perfected Lord Abstruse Void stepped out, narrowed his eyes, and said, "Tang Xian." He looked at Zhao Hao and Huang Shan, who were also at Tier 8 of the divine level, and said coldly, "You've really hidden yourself well." Everyone else was also astonished by the sudden appearance of 2 more Tier 8 divine level experts in the Repose Palace. Adam and Dante also threw a few more glances at Tang Xian, thinking, this Tang Xian has the disposition of a formidable character. Not only has he reached Tier 8 of the divine level at such a young age, but he also has 2 other Tier 8 divine level companions. Sigh, why are there so many geniuses in this land? If this were to continue, when will our land be able to catch up? However, at the sight of this scene, Elder D leaped out and bellowed furiously. "Tang Xian, are you crazy? If you're going to die, don't drag the Repose Palace down with you." And you guys, Elder D glared furiously at the other Tier 8 divine level experts who had made a move. He shouted like mad dogs that had been released by their owners. "Do you guys want to become enemies with our Flying Celestial Sect? Have all of you forgotten what happened a few days ago?" Hearing his words, the expressions of everyone who had been a little restless and even had strong feelings of resistance in their eyes turned solemn. They recalled the scenes where Venerable Master Zhaixing had personally made a move. Several tens of sects had been suppressed, and over 10 Tier 8 divine level experts had their conjured physiques destroyed. Not even a hint of their clones had managed to escape. At this moment, Venerable Master Zhaixing's terror once again encompassed everyone's hearts. The courage and fury that they had just summoned up were instantly extinguished. At the sight of this scene, a hint of pride flashed in Elder D's eyes. However, just then, Tang Xian stepped out without any fear. Under everyone's astonished gazes, he shouted at the 4 true lords, "It's not impossible for us to submit to you. Get Zhaixing to bring out the fragments of the Gate of Destinies for us to take a look. Otherwise, who knows if you guys are trying to scam us without risking anything." True Lord Profundity let out a cold snort, and the pernicious aura in her gaze intensified. Tang Xian's attitude had clearly infuriated her. How can our flying celestial sect go back on our words? True Lord Profundity said, reforging the Gate of Destinies is a great plan for the world. It's not for a single person or a single clan. Everyone has probably sensed that in recent years, even the higher realms' cultivation resources have been decreasing. This world of ours has become increasingly unsuitable for cultivation. If this continues, we'll probably end up dying from the depletion of our lifespans. The only solution is to reforge the Gate of Destinies and reach the other shore. Don't talk so much nonsense. Zhao Hao, who was standing behind Tang Xian, mocked. Who knows if you guys are using this opportunity to fill your own pockets? What if you guys run off after gathering all the resources and reforging the Gate of Destinies? What are we going to do then? Moreover, who knows what it means to attain the great Tao and reach the other shore? Who knows where the other shore is and if it's better than the higher realm? Impudent. The corners of True Lord Abstruse Void's eyes twitched. He finally slapped out with his palm, turning into a tsunami formed by layers of martial will that struck out toward Zhao Hao. The tsunami formed by the martial will kept on stacking up. By the time it arrived before Zhao Hao, its prowess had already increased by over 100 times. Almost every inch of space it passed by was stretched out by several times by this gush of power. Chapter 1141. However, as Zhao Hao was a great martial arts talent, a martial emperor throughout the ages, and he had also received Fang Xingzhan's martial arts legacy, it was impossible for him to be defeated with a single move. He tapped out with a finger, and a series of dragon roars rang out in the air. They clashed against the tsunami, and then both of them dissipated. Zhao Hao smiled. Why? Do you want to fight? Tang Xian and Huang Shan also stepped forward. However, Adam kept on persuading them through his martial will. The three of you, don't be rash. Venerable Master Zhai Xing's cultivation is extremely high. It's best that we don't get into a head-on conflict with them. Right. Many people also kept on sending voice transmissions through their martial will. Just hold them off for a while. If we really go to war, the gains won't make up for the losses. Senior Tang, don't be rash, Gong Yiyin persuaded. However, hearing everyone's persuasion, the three of them exchanged a glance and smiled, not taking it to heart at all. With a super strong backing like Fang Xingzhan, they did not know what fear was. At this moment, Tang Xian could not help but think the feeling of having such a strong backing is really not bad. However, to others, their actions were blatantly sending themselves to their deaths, being rash and willful. This was especially so for Adam and Dante. They had been on the same side as Tang Xian and the other two. Now, they could not fight them head-on, but it would not be good for them to retreat either. They felt as if they were being grilled over a fire. Just then, the mysterious Firmament Palace's palace lord, who had stepped forward together with Tang Xian and the other two, took a few steps back and retracted his aura. This was clearly a clear indication of his attitude. Although he was against the violent merger of sects, he was not willing to go to war with the flying celestial sect. Adam sighed and said, "Sigh, I didn't expect Tang Xian to be so rash. This time around, we've really been led into a ditch by him." Just as Adam and the others were stuck between a rock and a hard place, there were a series of changes in the sky. The atmosphere, clouds, and even the space in the sky all started to fluctuate, eventually turning into a huge vortex that encompassed a range of 1,000 lis. Endless ether particles gathered together, almost lighting up the entire place like a sun. And in the center of the vortex, a figure slowly walked out from the sky under the glaring light. He walked step by step to the center of the venue, in front of the four true lords. At this moment, the four true lords had all knelt down. In fact, every single disciple of the Flying Celestial Sect had knelt down as well. Their expressions were filled with reverence. As the figure took each step forward, the experts from the various sects present all felt as if they were being pressed down by an invisible mountain. With each step the figure took, the pressure on them would get increasingly stronger. In the end, even experts below Tier 6 of the divine level were forced to their knees by the figure. Experts at tier 6, 7, and 8 of the divine level could only barely hang on. The person who came was the flying celestial sect master, venerable master Zhai Xing, looking at the blurry figure in the glaring light. The hearts of the people who were in opposition were filled with terror. They could no longer summon any will to resist. At the next moment, everyone felt as if a pair of sharp eyes had swept over and then stopped on them. I heard that you guys are very dissatisfied with my arrangements. His calm words landed in everyone's ears like a clap of thunder, causing a series of stifled sounds to ring out in everyone's consciousness. It was as if they had not slept for several days and nights. No one made a sound. Venerable Master Zhai Xing then turned his gaze toward the mysterious Firmament Palace's palace lord. The latter felt as if his body was being pressed down by a 1,000-meter-tall mountain. I wouldn't dare. The mysterious Firmament Palace's palace lord forced out a smile. I only have some doubts about the 100 sects coming together, but I have no objections to the general direction of a unification. Venerable Master Zhai Xing did not say anything and just turned his gaze toward Adam and Dante. In this instant, the two of them felt as if they were in the universe's vacuum, unable to reach the heavens or the earth. There was a stretch of vacuum around them, and they could not sense the existence of any physical matter. This feeling was as if they had been expelled out of this world. The two of them were taken aback, and hints of killing intent flashed in Dante's heart. However, he was stopped by Adam. Adam raised his head and said with a smile, "Venerable Master, you've misunderstood. We only have some objections to the specific details. There's no problem with the general direction." Hearing the mysterious Firmament Palace's palace lords and Adam's replies, although it was within everyone's expectations, they still could not help but reveal disappointment in their eyes. When faced with Tier 9 divine level powers, compromise might be the only choice. Gong Yi inside. Venerable Master Zhai Xing still did not say anything and just threw his gaze toward Tang Xian and the other two. This time around, his gaze flickered slightly as he said, "The three of you aren't bad. To be able to reach Tier 8 of the divine level at such a young age, you could be considered to have great potential. Come under my wing. The Repose Palace isn't able to accommodate you guys." However, there was no hint of fear on the faces of Tang Xian and the other two. Under everyone's astonished gazes, Tang Xian took a step forward, pointed at Venerable Master Zhai Xing, and said, You can't do it. You're old, and yet you're still at Tier 9 of the divine level. You're really unpromising. But seeing that you're so old, I'll give you a chance. I'll let you and your flying celestial sect join my Repose Palace. After Tang Xian said this, everyone present was astonished. Regardless of whether it was Adam, Dante, Gong Yuyin, Junior Martial Brother Ning, Elder D, or even the four true lords, all of them were stunned. They looked at Tang Xian as if they had not expected that he would dare to say something like this. This kid, is he crazy? Adam thought to himself. Even Venerable Master Zhai Xing was slightly stunned and did not rebut for a moment. He probably would not have imagined that someone would speak to him like this even in his dreams. However, Tang Xian did not care. He felt that he no longer had any reservations. He just kept on using his martial will to contact Fang Xingjian, saying, "Are you done? You can make your move now, right?" Venerable Master Zhai Xing finally reacted as well. He frowned, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. He did not say much and merely blew out gently. An invisible force came plunging down like the heavenly river, gushing out toward Tang Xian. Tang Xian and the other two immediately performed their martial wills and started to defend. Layers of stacking space, spatial translocation, as well as all sorts of time acceleration and time-stopping attacks were unleashed. However, they were unable to stop that heavenly river from plunging down. "What kind of attack is this?" Tang Xian asked in surprise. "Why is it that we can't block it at all? It's not a high-dimensional attack, nor is it a spatial attack. There's also no additional editing time." Zhao Hao formed seals with both hands, and countless streams of golden light flashed, smashing toward that heavenly river. However, when the two of them came into contact, It was as if they had encountered illusions. There was no effect on each other, and the heavenly river passed through them. Seeing that the heavenly river had wrapped around their bodies as if there was no one around, Tang Xian and the other two moved their bodies crazily. They performed spatial translocation continuously and instantly flew out a distance of 10,000 lis. However, that heavenly river was still right before them, getting closer and closer to their bodies inch by inch. Tang Xian urged crazily with his martial will. "Quickly make your move. Fang Xingjian, if you still don't make your move, we're going to die." On the other side, Fang Xingjian had finally set up an inescapable net. 5 martial art projections appeared simultaneously in the hall, and 5 streams of martial will at 90,000 points instantly sealed off every inch of space. Almost at the instant Fang Xingjian appeared, Venerable Master Zhai Xing let out a surprise cry and wanted to retreat. Chapter 1142. Fang Xingjian sent down 5 martial art projections at one go, and each of them possessed the power of a martial will of 90,000 points. The power of a martial will of 90,000 points was a terrifying prowess that could tear apart planets and shatter the Earth's core. Right now, 5 streams of them had appeared consecutively, and they could instantly cause the entire higher realm's space-time to explode. The even more terrifying thing was that these 5 streams of power with 90,000 points of martial will were all gathered within a small range of 10 lis. Venerable Master Zhai Xing wanted to escape almost at the first instant. However, he had only moved a few meters when he seemed to have bumped into an iron wall, and he was confined in midair. Almost every inch of space in the surroundings had been stretched out to a length of several million kilometers by Fang Xingjian. He had performed a few spatial translocations consecutively, but to the spectators, it seemed as if he had stopped at the same spot without moving at all. However, what astonished everyone even more was that Venerable Master Zhai Xing had chosen to escape. At the next moment, something that shocked everyone even more happened. The 5 Fang Xingjian each sent out a palm strike, and the power of 90,000 points of martial will erupted. In that instant, a stream of black light suddenly appeared with the top of Venerable Master Zhai Xing's head as the starting point. At the next moment, space shattered and extended out toward Venerable Master Zhai Xing's entire body. "Ah!" Amidst a shrill cry, Venerable Master Zhai Xing's conjured physique was instantly crushed. The fragments of his martial will kept on being absorbed by the shattered space, turning into nothingness. It was as if he had turned into a lump of invisible liquid human. His body kept on changing shape, and the upper half of his body kept on being absorbed into the shattered space. However, possessing the powers of a Tier 9 divine level expert allowed him to recover no matter what kind of injuries he received. He gradually reached a balance between destruction and rebirth. "Get out of my way!" Venerable Master Zhai Xing tried to break through Fang Xingjian's seal and saw a vast expanse of white martial will emitting out from his broken body. Heaven and earth as one. All things return to one. It was not just Venerable Master Zhai Xing himself. Even the surrounding space and Fang Xingjian's powers were undergoing time reversal, turning into the most basic physical units. Right now, not only did Venerable Master Zhai Xing control the flow of time in his body, but he also made the world and the surroundings start to flow in Fang Xingjian's power. "This is the realm of becoming one with the world," Adam said in astonishment. "To think that Venerable Master Zhai Xing has achieved this. But Fang Xingjian is even more terrifying." The wariness and formidable divine King Dante's gaze had already reached an extreme. To be able to suppress Venerable Master Zhai Xing with pure strength. Just how strong has his strength reached? In the sky, no matter how Venerable Master Zhai Xing bellowed and struggled, the surrounding space and powers kept on going through the flow of time and recovering. But he was still unable to break free. It was because when he kept on returning the powers and the surroundings to the world through the reversal of time, even more powers came crashing down like tsunamis, like nuclear explosions, or like sunlight. They tore through space, shattered void space, and stretched out space. They kept suppressing Venerable Master Zhai Xing firmly within them. Everyone present was stunned to see how Venerable Master Zhai Xing was unable to break free from the pressure from the 5 streams of powers. Instead, he kept on shrinking and shrinking under the pressure of the 5 streams of powers like an amber. Tang Xian and the other 2 also returned through spatial translocation at this moment. When they saw how Venerable Master Zhai Xing was completely suppressed, they heaved a sigh of relief. This Fang Xingjian is really too terrifying. Thankfully, he's on our side. At the sight of this scene, Gong Yian's mouth opened slightly. Isn't this person the one who has been following beside Senior Tang all this while? I thought that he was Mr. Tang's follower, but to think that he could toy around with Venerable Master Zhai Xing. How can there be such a terrifying character in the world? Elder D's countenance changed drastically, and he became as pale as a sheet of paper. How is this possible? How can this be? Isn't he only at tier 7 of the divine level? Why is he able to suppress Venerable Master Zhai Xing? Putting aside the changes in everyone's countenances and astonishment, when the flying celestial sect's 4 true lords saw the situation, True Lord Profundity and True Lord Abstrusity chose to make a move at the first instant. 2 gushes of martial will soared into the sky as if they were going to break through the world's obstructions and ascend to the divine world in one go. They cut through layers of spatial ripples and struck out toward Venerable Master Zhai Xing. This was the Flying Celestial Sect's ultimate technique, the Flying Celestial Fist. It was a top-notch martial technique performed with the unparalleled will of ascension as its foundation and the boldness of breaking through the world's boundaries. It had also been reinforced by the Flying Celestial Sect's members over the generations. Each punch that was struck out would receive the help of the Flying Celestial Sect's members from the past and the future. Quickly make a move. This person is a match for old ancestor Zhai Xing and must have depleted all of his powers. As long as we can divert a portion of his powers, we'll be able to help the old ancestor regain the upper hand. When True Lord Profundity made a move, she did not forget to order the Flying Celestial Sect's members to make a move together. Hearing her words, the others were slightly tempted. It was because everyone felt that what she said was not wrong. Venerable Master Zhai Xing was a top-notch tier 9 divine level existence. Even if Fang Xingjian was able to suppress him, he would have to deplete a large portion of his powers. However, just as they were raring to make a move and were about to make a move, another martial art projection descended from the sky. It also had a martial will of 90,000 points, a majestic and endless aura, and a power that caused one to feel despair. The Flying Celestial Fist that True Lord Profundity and True Lord Abstruse struck out was like a small sedan car that had collided into a neutron star. Almost at the instant both parties came into contact, they were rebounded and then shattered completely, dissipating into the air. What? True Lord Profundity and True Lord Abstruse looked at Fang Xingjian in astonishment, as if finding it hard to understand why he still had so much power left. At the next moment, the martial art projection struck out with a backhand palm, and shattered void space exploded on the surface of their bodies. It instantly brought all of their martial wills and conjured physiques into darkness, turning into nothingness along with the shattered space. Seeing that 2 tier 8 divine level experts had been turned into ashes with a single attack, everyone present was horrified. An invisible terror was like a huge hand clutching their necks. The remaining 2 true lords exchanged a glance and could only see a hint of terror in each other's eyes. As tier 8 divine level existences, they had never lacked courage. However, when faced with a power that they could not fend against, and when it was meaningless to sacrifice themselves, they were unable to sacrifice their lives. Elder D looked at this scene in a daze, as if he did not dare to believe that such a thing had happened. Thinking of his plan and his setup, he could already imagine that his future would be bleak. Venerable Master Zhai Xing's body continued to shrink under the power's compression, slowly flying into Fang Xingjian's palm. Just as venerable Master Zhai Xing was planning on continuing to resist, another stream of martial will descended from the sky and joined in the suppression. Sensing the power that was like the Milky Way and burning like a star, venerable Master Zhai Xing completely gave up on using his strength to struggle. He looked at Fang Xingjian and shouted, "Why? Why do you possess such great brute force? This is impossible. What on earth are you?" Chapter 1143. There's nothing that's impossible. Fang Xingjian looked at venerable Master Zhai Xing in his hand and asked, "All right, hand over the Gate of Destiny's fragment." Fang Xingjian was still very interested in the Gate of Destinies that was said to be able to corroborate the great Tao and reach the other shore. "Ha ha ha! Do you think that you won?" Venerable Master Zhai Xing suddenly laughed, and a stream of emerald green light rose up from his chest. At the next moment, blazing green flames started to burn with his chest as the center. Two agonizing cries rang out from the emerald green flames. They were the Heavenly Emperor and Immortal Yuqing. The clones that they had left behind in the sect were suppressed by venerable Master Zhai Xing. Right now, they were burning up fiercely, turning into nutrients for the Gate of Destiny's fragment. They were not the only ones. Even venerable Master Zhai Xing himself had turned into blazing flames and kept on burning. All sorts of comprehensions, thoughts, and realms were channeled into the fragment. At this moment, he had used the thoughts of 3-tier, 9 divine level experts and half of his martial will as the price to activate the Gate of Destiny's fragment. The fragment kept on cracking and shattering amidst the flames. Clearly, it was going to be destroyed completely soon. However, it also formed a green light door that opened up with venerable Master Zhai Xing's chest as the center. "Fool! While you're using a space that's several million kilometers away to confine me, you're also protecting me at the same time. Just you wait. I'll be back." Almost at the instant the light door appeared, venerable Master Zhai Xing darted into it abruptly and disappeared. The light door only appeared for a very short period of time. Just as venerable Master Zhai Xing darted into it, it started to shrink and disappear. At the sight of this scene, Fang Xingjian let out a cold snort. The Royal Heavenly Great Art Martial Art Projection formed seals with both hands, and the Ascendant Heavenly Seal blasted out at superluminal speed together with high-dimensional attacks. Terrifying powers were instantly distributed across the space that seemed to be only 1 inch, but was several 10 million kilometers in length in the world. Every inch of space was vaporized and shattered. Invisible darkness appeared where venerable Master Zhai Xing was at. The Royal Heavenly Great Art Martial Art Projection that shattered space also darted into the light door, disappearing without a trace. The remaining projections attacked together once again. With a light brush of their palms, the entire battlefield was instantly flattened. All the violent shock waves, radiation, high temperature, and high pressure were wiped out. Initially, if Fang Xingjian were to take action like this, the entire higher realm would be shattered by the repercussions of his attacks. However, as he had directly stretched out space through the 33 Paradises techniques, he had turned the space within an inch into a battlefield that was tens of millions of kilometers long. Even if he were to move at light speed, it would take him a few minutes to break out from it. This naturally meant that the battle was over before the aftermath of the attack could even spread. Not to mention the entire upper realm, even the entire flying celestial valley, did not suffer any damage. Before everyone's eyes, venerable Master Zhai Xing also disappeared without a trace along with the shattered space. Fang Xingjian turned to look at the dumbfounded crowd on the ground and lightly said, "From now on, I'll be the ruler of this world. Those who serve will live. Those who are not convinced." With that, he reached out his right hand in the direction of the remaining 2 true lords and clenched his fists. The 2-tier, 8 divine level experts were crushed like little chicks. Die. Right now, The palm force that Fang Xingjian casually clenched was no different from the center of a star. Even Tier 8 divine level experts would be vaporized under this high temperature and high pressure. Seeing that the two Tier 8 divine level experts were killed just like that, everyone present shivered as if a basin of cold water had been poured over them. How could they still have any objections? Adam and Dante exchanged a glance and could not help but let out a bitter laugh. They had initially treated Fang Xingjian as a junior, and their minds were filled with thoughts on how to deal with the great enemy that was venerable master Zhai Xing. In the end, the great enemy that they had thought to be undefeatable was easily dealt with by Fang Xingjian in just 2 or 3 moves. At the thought of this, a feeling of absurdity rose in their minds. Elsewhere, the Royal Heavenly Great Art martial art projection chased after Fang Xingjian through the light door. The moment he came out of the light door, the scene that appeared before him was like hell. The ground was shattered, dried up, and seething lava and volcanic ash were everywhere. The sky seemed to be eternally gray. A tremendous amount of dust gathered in the sky, causing sunlight to be unable to shine down. Fang Xingjian's gaze swept out slightly, and he analyzed the situation of the environment. This situation is caused by the surface of the planet having suffered a powerful attack. He had seen Prince perform a similar scene before. With a single attack, he had flattened the land and destroyed the entire planet's ecosystem. Fang Xingjian thought, this is the place where the ancient heavenly court came from? Right now, the location they were in was no longer in the same universe as the original world. Fang Xingjian scanned the surroundings slightly and discovered that the entire planet under his feet had turned into hell. However, everything happened in an instant. At the same time that Fang Xingjian came to this conclusion, a light door opened up once again, and Venerable Master Zhai Xing disappeared into it. There's more. Fang Xingjian raised his brows. Looking at the light door that was about to shrink and disappear, he slapped out with his palm. His golden palm grabbed onto the 2 sides of the light door, and under the channeling of endless great force, the surrounding quantum foam started seething like cups of heated water. An explosive boom rang out, and the light door was torn apart. Countless space shattered, and the curled dimensions exploded. The entire hell planet was encompassed in layers of flames and explosions. The Earth's crust kept on being torn apart, and a tremendous amount of liquid metal soared into the sky from the Earth's mantle, gushing out and pouring onto the exposed Earth's crust. A tremendous amount of matter was blasted into particles and fragments that soared into the sky, causing the entire planet to sink into darkness for the next few hundred years. As the planet's surface slowly disintegrated, Fang Xingjian darted to the other end of the light door and went in pursuit of Venerable Master Zhai Xing. Just like that, Fang Xingjian discovered that this light door did not simply open up a world. Instead, it was chasing after some kind of coordinates and kept on traversing through many universes. Venerable Master Zhai Xing's expression was distorted and filled with horror. He kept on burning his martial will to accelerate time. Almost every time, the light door would disappear without a trace with a flash. Venerable Master Zhai Xing had not expected that Fang Xingjian would be able to break through the world's barrier by himself, following the powers of the Gate of Destinies to forcefully break through space-time and traverse over. Zhai Xing, you won't be able to escape. Fang Xingjian had no choice but to accelerate time as well. Relying on his stronger powers, he was able to tear apart the light door each time, connect to the quantum foam based on the information on it, and then follow after Venerable Master Zhai Xing. Fang Xingjian traversed through 7 to 8 worlds. Each of them was a stretch of barren land that had been destroyed to the point that they looked like hell. It was as if the ancient heavenly court was being chased by some terrifying power. As they traversed through time and time again, the light door's glow became increasingly dimmer. After all, this light door was something that Venerable Master Zhai Xing had created at the last minute by burning his powers to stimulate the Gate of Destiny's fragments. As they continued to traverse, their powers were depleted too quickly, and it was about to come to an end. At the sight of this scene, the terror on Venerable Master Zhaixing's face grew even stronger. He could only continue to burn his martial will, accelerate time, and strengthen the light door, hoping to shake off Fangxing Zhan. Finally, after traversing through another 3 worlds, the light door exuded a dim glow and slowly closed up. However, it never opened up again. Venerable Master Zhaixing's countenance changed abruptly. He knew that it was not that his energy had been depleted, but that he had reached his destination. He had finally reached the final destination of the ancient heavenly court. Chapter 1144. The strength of a living being, as well as the various parameters, culture, background, and personality, were often greatly related to the environment. Several tens of thousands of years ago, the Central Continent's martial arts had been developed to an extreme. Everyone in the continent practiced martial arts, and almost every top-notch faction could traverse parallel worlds, sending their disciples to other worlds with 9-tiered heavens to strive for the breakthrough. During that golden age, the Central Continent and Miracle World had yet to come into contact, and even Venerable Master Zhaixing had not been born yet. Among the top-notch sects in the Central Continent, Tier 1 the divine level had just begun. The ancient heavenly court, which had unified all the top-notch sects, had reached a pinnacle in terms of influence, strength, and prowess. They had over 10 Tier 9 divine level existences. They toyed with space-time, manipulated karma, and saw through the past and future. However, as the number of experts increased, the entire Central Continent space gradually became unsuitable for their survival despite being repeatedly stretched, compressed, and made various adjustments. Just a single inhalation of energy from over 10 Tier 9 divine level existences could cause the entire planet to be in darkness and coldness for over 100 years, entering the Ice Age. Moreover, there were countless Tier 8, 7, and 6 divine level experts. Their very existence, the high quality and high radiation that they brought with them, could completely destroy the ecosystem. When there were too many of them, the planet's environment could not recover in time, and the living conditions of the people at the lower levels became increasingly worrisome. Moreover, as the environment continued to be damaged, the ether particles weakened, and all sorts of energies were depleted intensely. Space-time plunged, and the cultivation environment for experts became increasingly worse. Faced with such a situation, a large number of high-level cultivators started to flee the Central Continent, heading to other parallel universes to cultivate. Even the ancient heavenly court was unable to stop such a great exodus. After all, others were leaving for the sake of their own cultivation and future, and no one could force them. Even a large number of people in the ancient heavenly court wanted to leave the Central Continent. Faced with such a situation, the ancient heavenly court finally made the decision to evacuate the entire Central Continent and search for a world that was more suitable for cultivation. The Gate of Destinies was born under such circumstances. It gathered the efforts of many experts in the ancient heavenly court and countless resources from the entire Central Continent. Not only could it bring the entire ancient heavenly court to traverse across worlds, but it could also absorb the planet's energy, all sorts of energy, such as geothermal energy, radiation, light energy, and electromagnetism, to evolve. Each time it absorbed energy, it could rapidly expand the space in its body and improve the cultivation environment within the Gate of Destinies. This meant that although the Gate of Destinies could allow it to traverse across worlds, its ultimate goal wasn't to have knowledge. Instead, it was to continuously improve the cultivation environment within a body. The ancient heavenly court's final goal was to allow the Gate of Destinies to traverse on its own, evolve, and eventually evolve into the most superior cultivation environment. It could even provide Tier 9 divine level experts with sufficient resources, allowing them to attain another breakthrough. After these energies were drawn into the Gate of Destinies, over half of them were used to improve the cultivation environment in the space, nurture all sorts of heavenly and earthly treasures, create ether particles, and even store them for the next world traversal. As of, the world as of, as, the other half of the resources, as of. The Gate of Destinies had already surpassed that of Tier 9 divine level experts in terms of its efficiency in nurturing heavenly and earthly treasures, cultivating resources, absorbing and releasing energy, and converting ether. Theoretically speaking, as long as the ancient heavenly court was in possession of this divine equipment, they would be able to continue getting stronger endlessly. However, at this moment, within the Gate of Destinies, the endless sea of trees and the divine mountains and valleys that nurtured countless treasured medicines and immortal herbs were in a state of war. Large areas of castles in the sky were flying about, and beams of light that represented death descended from the sky, scattering onto the land, the sky, and the lakes. They kept on vaporizing all sorts of matter. Occasionally, martial experts would soar into the sky while emitting martial wills of various colors, flying toward those castles in the sky. Some lucky ones would be able to break through the castle's protective barriers and cause some damage inside. However, most of the people were only able to fly a distance of a few kilometers before they were struck by streams of death rays. They disintegrated in midair, turning into a myriad of electric sparks that slowly dissipated. A burly man with a coarse complexion held onto a 9-ringed saber and looked at the countless dissipating light spots in the sky with a sorrowful expression. Demons are wreaking havoc in the world. Disciples of the Golden Saber sect, listen up. Follow me to slay the demons. Similar scenes were happening in various corners within the Gate of Destinies. Scenes of people sacrificing themselves, their clans, and their sects to protect their country kept on happening. The entire space within the Gate of Destinies seemed to have reached a moment of life and death. At the center of the space within the Gate of Destinies, a golden city that took up a range of 100 leagues floated over. There were several 10 million golden-armored soldiers standing all over the place, and even the weakest among them emitted the aura of a second transition expert. The number of demigods exceeded 1 million, and there were also several 10,000 divine level experts. There were also several tens of Tier 9 divine level experts standing in the center. Each and every one of their actions seemed to flash with world-splitting prowess, and countless layers of space-time were distorting. This was the terrifying battle prowess that the ancient heavenly court had accumulated after the Gate of Destinies kept on engulfing many planets for several 10,000 years. The ancient heavenly court's army was the legendary heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. They had a terrifying martial prowess that could crush most of the civilizations in the multivariate universe, be it in terms of quality or quantity. However, right now, this army, which numbered over 10 million, was surrounded within the ancient heavenly court's central heavenly palace. Outside the heavenly palace, they were surrounded by several million floating castles. Each of the floating castles emitted colorful magical spiritual light, continuously shooting out high-energy magical rays that could split the earth in mountains and rivers toward the heavenly palace. In the heavenly court, the army of several 10 million charged time and time again, but they were still unable to break through the joint siege of these floating castles. In the center of the heavenly palace, the ancient heavenly court's leader, the Tier 9 divine level expert Heavenly Emperor Malediction, frowned, feeling worried about the current situation. Chapter 1145. Originally, the ancient heavenly court used the Gate of Destinies to roam the void and devour planets. After tens of thousands of years, their cultivation level increased day by day, and the military strength of the ancient heavenly court also kept increasing. Everything was developing in a good direction. However, 180 years ago, when they were devouring a planet, they encountered fierce resistance. The local transcendents called themselves magicians. They extracted magical energy from the void and possessed unparalleled power. However, despite the intense resistance, they quickly suppressed the other party and began to extract the local planetary energy. However, it was only later on that Malediction realized what a hornet's nest they had poked. In fact, the mages on that planet were not natives. It was a colonized planet belonging to the mages. The ancient Heavenly Court then engaged in a series of great battles. The ancient Heavenly Court had a great number of martial arts experts, and also had Tier 9 divine level experts as top-notch powers that could predict the future, distort space-time, and reconstruct matter. Even Tier 9 divine level experts like Malediction, who had accumulated power for several 10,000 years, were able to tear through void space, roam the universe, and traverse through parallel worlds. However, the power of the magicians was also not to be underestimated. Based on Malediction's understanding, this force, known as the Number 1 Magician Empire, ruled over 10,000 colonized planets and had over 100,000 years of history. There were trillions of people with extraordinary abilities. The various magical fortresses that they had created possessed the terrifying power of traversing through the void, flying at superluminal speed, and vaporizing continents. Among them, the strongest 100 fortresses were known as the Doomsday Fortresses. They possessed the terrifying power to extinguish stars and absorb the star's energy as a source of power. It was these 100 Doomsday Fortresses that traversed the void, suppressed the four poles, and maintained the peace of the Number 1 Magician Empire. Right now, a total of 9 Doomsday Fortresses surrounded the Gate of Destinies in the universe's vacuum, completely suppressing this ancient Heavenly Court's super-divine equipment. Not only was the Gate of Destinies unable to move through void space to escape, but it was also unable to close up the space to defend against external enemies. This allowed the troops from the Number 1 Magician Empire to charge in and attack their way in. Now that things had come to this, Malediction had no choice but to admit that the strength of the Number 1 Magician Empire far surpassed that of the ancient Heavenly Court. There were only two choices before him. The first was to lead the remaining Tier 9 divine level experts in a battle to the death, temporarily breaking through the restrictions of the Doomsday Fortresses, activating the Gate of Destinies to traverse through the universe and escape. The other option was to abandon the ancient Heavenly Court and tear the void to escape. As the Heavenly Emperor who had controlled the ancient Heavenly Court for tens of thousands of years, Malediction naturally had the ability to tear through the void and traverse the universe. It was just that it wasn't as stable and efficient as the Gate of Destinies. However, after thinking about it for a long time, he decided to give it a try. At least leave one Doomsday battleship behind. A while later, the entire Central Palace seemed to fall into an uproar. Tens of millions of golden-armored warriors roared out together, and the Celestial Emperor suddenly swelled up in his crystalline armor, becoming several tens of thousand meters in length. Simultaneously, the other several tens of Tier 9 divine level experts also released their virtual images. All sorts of divine dragons, giants, storms, seas, void space, and constellations with a height of 100,000 jongs appeared above the 9-tiered heavens. Seeing this scene, the many heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals present all cheered. The other divine level experts also started to release their powers. Heavenly Emperor Malediction shouted, "Everyone, are you willing to go into battle with me and kill the enemies?" Roar! Colorful, almost indescribable splendor instantly erupted. The ancient Heavenly Court had begun its largest counterattack in history. Over 50 Tier 9 divine level experts had unleashed their powers at the same time. What kind of scene was that? The entire space around the Gate of Destinies seemed to have lost its color in an instant. During the additional time halt, countless martial wills came gushing forth, crushing the floating fortresses in the sky into smithereens. Then countless martial wills gathered together, gushing out toward the entire Gate of Destinies like a stretch of chaos. The powers of over 50 Tier 9 divine level experts gathered together and erupted explosively. Their powers seemed to have turned into a type of chaos. In a stretch of still space, chaotic waves drowned out all the floating fortresses they saw along the way. Many fortresses turned into nothingness amidst the chaotic waves. After a total of 10 seconds, time resumed its flow once again, and more than half of the armies in the Gate of Destinies had been wiped out. Although the remaining floating fortresses continued to resist, they were no longer a match for Malediction and the others. Outside the Gate of Destinies, one of the 5 marshals of the #1 magician empire, Edwards, who was on top of the Doomsday fortresses, raised his brows. His entire body emitted a faint white light, and his body was as bright and transparent as the starry sky. One could even see the light from countless nebulae and stars flowing within him. They're finally willing to come out? If we don't rely on the Doomsday fortresses, it'll be really hard to deal with the powers of these cultivators. However, if we let the Doomsday fortresses enter this divine equipment, it'll be too dangerous. Edwards was worried that after the Doomsday fortresses entered the Gate of Destinies, they would self-destruct or even self-destruct to destroy the Doomsday fortresses. The Doomsday fortresses were the Empire's ultimate weapons, and the loss of any one of them would be a great sin. Even he would not be able to bear the consequences. Only then did they slowly surround and attack, nibbling away at the space within the Gate of Destinies bit by bit, forcing the other party to come out. An extremely massive gate with a length of over 100,000 kilometers was floating quietly in void space. The center of the gate flashed with colorful light, and it was as if one could see the world, the sun, the moon, the animals, the plants, and many other scenes. In the surroundings of the gate were 9 Doomsday fortresses that flashed with soaring flames. Each of the Doomsday fortresses emitted gravitational waves and cosmic radiation that surpassed that of a fixed star. Just their existence alone would be able to cause some planets to disintegrate and turn them into cosmic dust as long as they got close to them. Right now, the 9 Doomsday fortresses each released a stream of crimson ray, binding up the Gate of Destinies tightly. Through an absolute gravitational force that was comparable to that of a black hole, they confined the Gate of Destinies firmly. However, at the critical moment, one of the Doomsday fortresses trembled slightly and then shattered into pieces under everyone's astonished gazes. It was like the scene of a planet disintegrating. The entire Doomsday fortresses had exploded. It was a terrifying explosion that was comparable to a supernova explosion. When a planet exploded, the fragments formed from the explosion would dash out in all directions. A portion of them would dash into outer space and form meteors, while the other portion would collide with each other. Under the effects of the large mass and gravitational forces, they would turn into planet-like matter. However, the energy level contained within the Doomsday fortresses was too high, with a core temperature of over 1 trillion degrees Celsius. Once they exploded, they would be able to absorb matter at close to light speed before rebounding it out. Electrons, protons, neutrinos, X-rays, gamma rays, ultraviolet rays, and various other particles and light radiations burst out explosively, spraying out a high temperature of several million degrees Celsius. This great explosion would cause the matter it carried to swell up into a bubble-like nebula, sweeping out the Milky Way at the 2 poles of the explosion with a gamma-ray burst, killing all life on countless planets within several hundred years and illuminating the entire universe for the next several hundred million years. The other Doomsday fortresses and the Gate of Destinies that were very close to them suffered attacks that were like natural disasters. Edward shouted crazily, "Damn it, what's going on?" The remaining 8 Doomsday fortresses crazily engulfed and spat out the rays and explosions that came gushing out. They kept on absorbing the cosmic radiation as well as all sorts of impacts from neutrinos. The fortresses that could cross the starry sky and destroy civilizations were now, like a small dinghy, trembling in the midst of this universe's tempest. "Sir!" An adjutant cried out in astonishment. "It's them!" Edwards looked at the inspection report that was sent over, and his countenance turned extremely pale. To think that it's them? Why would these lunatics come here? At the center of the explosion, A humanoid life form slowly appeared amidst the endless white light. High-energy rays that were several million degrees Celsius brushed past the surface of his body lightly, but they were as gentle as a gentle breeze on a summer night, unable to harm his body in the slightest. Chapter 1146. Edwards was almost moaning as he said, "People from the southern planet. They're warriors from the southern constellation, which is governed by the Four Realms vision." When the other sorcerers on the Doomsday Fortresses sensed the figure in the center of the explosion, all of them revealed expressions of horror, terror, and astonishment. The other party's reputation was far too great. Even in the entire multivariate universe, the Southern Constellation was recognized as one of the three great warrior holy lands. Every warrior it produced possessed battle prowess that surpassed the limits of human imagination. It could be said that every warrior in the multivariate universe would take pride in heading to this warrior holy land to train. Out of the 13 demonic gods, the Four Realms vision was a supreme existence that grasped the authority of unification, replication, cloning, and transformation. The Southern Constellation was the ideal home for warriors that he had personally created. Is it Krypton or Beijing? Edward's eyes were fixed in the direction of the arcane art projection, continuously observing the changes in the various indexes. Krypton and Beijing were the two great mother planets that produced the strongest warriors in the Southern Constellation. They could be said to be the holy lands among the holy lands. The Tower Spirit has detected Krypton radiation. Within a range of 10 million kilometers, the level of ultraviolet radiation keeps on rising. The temperature outside the fortress has risen to 10 million degrees Celsius. This has already surpassed the temperature that should be caused by an explosion. It must be the eternal divine furnace. A superliminal reaction has been detected in the center of the explosion. Oh my God, he's here again. Boom! A silent explosion occurred in the universe's vacuum once again, and another doomsday fortress broke down and scattered. It was like a disintegrating sun, erupting its final embers in the universe's vacuum, forming an extremely majestic bubble nebula. Shock waves, which were mainly made up of cosmic radiation and neutrinos, once again clashed against the surrounding doomsday fortresses. However, the sorcerers were no longer interested in caring about these. Edwards frantically activated his communication spells, asking the monster in the center of the explosion, "Kryptonian, why are you attacking us? Are you trying to start a war between the two countries?" There is only one reason why Edwards only dared to ask questions and not retaliate immediately. He did not even dare to fire a shot, even after losing 2 doomsday fortresses. The difference in strength was too great, and the other party's battle prowess was too strong. As Kryptonians from one of the 3 holy lands of warriors in the multiverse, they possessed the Krypton metal war body, the eternal divine furnace, and the lightspeed fist technique, which were the 3 supreme profoundness. The Krypton metal battle constitution was an unparalleled body refining technique. Legend had it that the home planet of these super warriors would constantly emit an extremely powerful astral radiation, which could suppress the power of these super warriors, which could tear apart galaxies and extinguish stars to the level of ordinary carbon-based aliens. On the other hand, the Krypton metal battle physique could do the exact opposite. Through inhaling and exhaling the star radiation, it could strengthen one's physical body and transform the power that was originally suppressing them into strength. The Krypton metal battle physique allowed every super warrior to cross the void with their physical body and bathe in the sun at the core of the supernova. The eternal divine furnace was a supreme, internal training method. It could provide one's body with endless energy by absorbing stars. It could be said that every time one absorbed a star, one's body's energy would multiply. Just the endless energy provided by the eternal divine furnace and the supreme physical bodies created by the Krypton metal battle were enough for these super warriors to tear apart planets, roar in the Milky Way, and resist 99% of the natural disasters in the universe. The accompanying light, speed, fist technique also bestowed them with astonishing destructive prowess. Faced with such a terrifying super warrior, even though the other party was only one of them, Edwards could not muster up any thoughts of going up against him. He could only let out weak criticisms. The feeling was as if he was leading peasants from the Middle Ages, while the other party was a T-1000 liquid-state robot that was in perfect condition and had sufficient energy. At the center of the explosion, the scorching human figure raised his eyelids slightly, and unbelievably powerful electromagnetic waves gushed out. Wherever they passed by, the flames from the supernova explosion would also be extinguished, transmitting into the minds of everyone present in an unstoppable manner. Why did he attack you guys? If I have to put it in words, it's because he was bored. The other party's nonchalant tone kept on echoing in Edward's mind, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, and said with his body trembling, "Bored? Just because he was bored, he destroyed 2 of our doomsday fortresses and killed several tens of millions of sorcerers. Just because he was bored?" Edwards was unable to accept such an explanation at all. It was like trampling on the dignity of the number 1 magician empire. On the other side, Heavenly Emperor Malediction had just led his people out and killed all the way to the Gate of Destinies when he saw this scene. Scorching particle currents forced all of them back into the Gate of Destinies, and the terrifying supernova explosion caused the Gate of Destinies to tremble crazily, as if it would disintegrate at any moment. The words that the unknown man transmitted out caused Malediction and the others to tremble in fear. In their opinion, the number 1 magician empire was already extremely powerful. Yet, a random high-level life form that had appeared had destroyed 2 doomsday fortresses so casually, beating them up so badly that they did not dare to retaliate. And the reason he gave was simply because he was bored. What should we do? Are we still going to head out? To think that even the number 1 magician empire isn't a match for him. Who on earth is that person? Don't be happy too early. That person's identity is unknown, and he might attack us next. At the thought of this possibility, everyone present felt a chill in their hearts. The entire battlefield sank into a strange silence due to the sudden appearance of the super warrior. Before the other party took any further action, neither the number 1 magician empire nor the ancient heavenly court in the Gate of Destinies dared to make any unnecessary movements, fearing that they would cause a misunderstanding. However, while they appeared to be silent on the surface, Sorcerer Marshall Edwards kept on using communication magic to contact Heavenly Emperor Malediction and the others. 3 warrior sacred lands? Krypton metal battle physique, eternal divine furnace, and light speed fist technique? Heavenly Emperor Malediction slowly digested the information that the other party brought him. In just a few short seconds, the 2 of them had exchanged several tens of gigabytes of data per second through their martial wills and communication magic. The main reason was that the number 1 magician empire had revealed how powerful and brutal this super warrior was and had expressed their intention to join forces. However, the Heavenly Emperor was still feeling hesitant. Amidst this strange silence, a light suddenly flashed in void space, and a light door opened up. Venerable Master Zhai Xing dashed out abruptly. At the sight of the extremely huge Gate of Destinies, a gleam flashed in Venerable Master Zhai Xing's eyes. Chapter 1147. I'm finally here. With a flash, Venerable Master Zhai Xing barged into the space within the Gate of Destinies. Someone from the ancient heavenly court had wanted to stop him, but was stopped by Heavenly Emperor Malediction. Wait a minute, that person... Malediction frowned. He had already sensed the aura of the Gate of Destiny's fragment on the other party. To think that he's a descendant from the central continent who chased after me through the fragment? The moment Venerable Master Zhai Xing landed in the gate, he instantly sensed the over 50-tier, 9 divine level experts before him. Heavenly Emperor Malediction, Resurgent Divine General, Thunder Sovereign Pudong. Many experts who were very similar to the ones recorded in the ancient books appeared before him. Seeing so many top-notch experts, Venerable Master Zhai Xing was stunned for a moment. At the next moment, he broke into a delighted expression. Lord Heavenly Emperor, a great enemy from the outside world has invaded our central continent and even chased me all the way here. This person, all right, we'll talk about these things later. How could Heavenly Emperor Malediction be in the mood to listen to a country bumpkin? To him, cultivators who were holed up in a place as small as the central continent were really country bumpkins. The multivariate universe was very vast, especially when combined with the information he had just learned, such as the #1 magician empire before them and the Kryptonian warrior who single-handedly suppressed 9 doomsday fortresses. All of them far surpassed their imaginations. They were characters and influences that could truly dominate over a region in the multivariate universe. In comparison, their development in the central continent and the years they had spent traversing through the universe were like frogs in a well. Venerable Master Zhai Xing was stunned for a moment. He wanted to say something, but when he saw the grim countenances of the several tens of Tier 9 divine-level experts in the surroundings, he subconsciously became speechless. Resurgent Divine General could not take it anymore and sent a stream of martial will over, telling Venerable Master Zhai Xing what was going on. Having received so much information indirectly, Venerable Master Zhai Xing was a little stunned. Traversing through various universes, engulfing planets and worlds, a super empire that had colonized over 10,000 planets and worlds, and a superior existence who single-handedly suppressed everyone, the vastness of the multivariate universe, the endless powerful influences and characters, the fallen planets, the terrifying fortresses that were comparable to the sun, and the superior existence who instantly destroyed the fortresses. All of these made Venerable Master Zhai Xing feel as if his horizons had been broadened. Recalling his actions in the central continent, the tens of thousands of years of battles, and the battle with Fangxing Zhan, he suddenly felt like a child playing house, playing with mud. Venerable Master Zhai Xing could not help but turn to look at the Resurgent Divine General who had given him guidance. Resurgent Divine General's name had also been renowned throughout the world in the ancient era. He was a person who had fought with Heavenly Emperor Malediction for the position of Heavenly Emperor. He had once relied on his own power to destroy the central Heavenly Palace 7 times, and single-handedly fought his way up to Heavenly Emperor Malediction. If the Sky Emperor hadn't had the support of the previous Sky Emperor, the position of the Sky Emperor would probably have belonged to the Resurgent Divine General. For a legendary character to appear before Venerable Master Zhai Xing just like that, he could not help but feel that it was surreal. The legendary figure was nothing more than a pawn on the battlefield, which made him feel even more illusory. Just then, an invisible force tore through the void space where Venerable Master Zhai Xing had appeared earlier, and Fangxing Zhan walked out slowly. Seeing Fangxing Zhan's appearance, Venerable Master Zhai Xing could not help but say, "It's him. He's the one who invaded from the outside world and has taken over the entire central continent. He even chased after me all the way here. Although this person only has Tier 7 divine level cultivation, his martial will is extremely powerful." Enough! A long-haired lady at the side, the Ice River Goddess who had also reached Tier 9 of the divine level, said calmly, "Don't bother with him. You'll know in the future. After entering the multivariate universe's stage, there are countless characters like him. The battles you fought in the past were just like children's fights." Venerable Master Zhai Xing threw a glance at the lady next to him in astonishment. Although she had already left the central world when he was born, he had read about the Ice River Goddess's rumors from a large number of ancient books. This lady with amazing talent did not have a master or even a sect. She had relied on a manual she had obtained from an ancient tomb to charge up and reach Tier 1 of the divine level. Thereafter, she even set up her own sect, known as the Ice River Sect. She continued to develop and strengthen, collecting all sorts of manuals and completing her own cultivation technique. Within a short span of over 1,000 years, she reached Tier 9 of the divine level. It was rumored that when the central world brought about a minor ice age, causing the entire world's temperature to drop and the lives of the people to become increasingly tough. She was the one who stood out and used universal snowfall to draw in the world's cold aura. She single-handedly reversed the entire world's minor ice age and became famous. Faced with such a legendary character from ancient legends, Venerable Master Zhai Xing could not help but feel agitated. The Ice River Goddess looked at the human figure in the center of the explosion and said with a grim countenance, "Right now, our lives are all in the hands of that person. Hurry up and take a look. You might not be able to see a second Overlord-level character like him in several 10,000 years." Seeing Fang Xingjian's sudden appearance, the people from the #1 Magician Empire were also slightly stunned. However, when they saw Fang Xingjian's optical image and saw his appearance clearly, they were slightly surprised. "His appearance is similar to Lianping's?" Edwards frowned and said, "Who is this person? Could it be that he is related to the heavenly country of delusions?" Just as the #1 Magician Empire was immersed in all sorts of guesses, the human figure in the explosion took a step out. The high temperature and rays within a range of several thousand lis were all extinguished. The human figure that was revealed was an ordinary young man with short black hair. He was wearing a white uniform that was like a close-fitting spacesuit. He appeared fair and clean, but his face was a little pale. He looked just like an ordinary student, and there was no sign of the terrifying prowess that had destroyed 2 doomsday fortresses consecutively. But at this moment, when his gaze swept over, it seemed to contain boundless might. Even the surrounding light was slightly distorted by his gaze. He looked in Fang Xingjian's direction and asked directly, "Compatriot?" After saying that, he clenched his fist slightly. It was as if a sun had exploded in it, emitting piercing light. Or trash. When he said this, Fang Xingjian could sense a unique wave moving toward his body. Unlike electromagnetic waves or any other kind of radiation, this wave did not seem to contain any energy. It was just some kind of pure information. However, Fang Xingjian, who was coming into contact with it for the first time, was clearly unable to decipher the content. Clearly, the other party was using this method to verify his identity. Chapter 1148. Frowning slightly, Fang Xingjian continued to sense the surrounding situation with his high-dimensional sensory abilities. First, it was the #1 Magician Empire. The remaining 7 doomsday fortresses were like 7 stars surrounding him, giving him an intense feeling of threat. Then it was the Gate of Destinies. Fang Xingjian sensed Venerable Master Zhai Xing's location, as well as the several tens of Tier 9 divine-level experts in the Gate of Destinies. Other than these, there was also the man who was speaking to him. The feeling of threat this man gave him was stronger than that of everyone else present. Hearing Yin Feibai's question, Fang Xingjian said calmly, "I don't understand what you're talking about." "Is that so?" Yin Feibai smiled. "But I'm not such an unreasonable person." His gaze suddenly turned cold. The two of them stood facing each other. Yin Feibai's gaze was filled with pernicious auras, and invisible powers clashed in void space. "How about this? If you change your face and swear never to use this face again, I can consider not beating you to death." Fang Xingjian frowned, finally understanding where Yin Feibai's hostility came from. He asked directly, "You know Lianping? The silver demonic god, Lianping?" The killing intent in Yin Feibai's eyes burned fiercely. "Oh, that's interesting. You know of His Majesty's existence, and yet you still dare to..." In the Gate of Destinies, a hint of surprise and doubt flashed in Heavenly Emperor Malediction's gaze. "What's going on? These two people know each other?" Everyone turned their gazes toward Venerable Master Zhai Xing, and Malediction asked, "Do you know where this person comes from?" Venerable Master Zhai Xing explained, "He's called Fang Xingjian. He comes from a parallel universe that's similar to the Central Continent. However, the continent he's from is very weak and doesn't even have the art of longevity. Most of the time, the strongest expert there is only at Tier 1 of the divine level. He comes from such a weak world?" Then they shouldn't know each other. Then what on earth are they talking about? I hope that this Fang Xingjian doesn't offend that existence, the ice river goddess said. He probably won't even be able to withstand a single gaze from that existence. However, if he were to accidentally anger that existence, not only will he die, but will also be implicated. After all, our power systems are too similar. Just as everyone was feeling puzzled by the scene before them, a power that made them feel extremely horrified rose from Yin Feibai's body. It was a power as if a sun had exploded in Yin Feibai's body, seething and circulating to and fro in his body. In the end, with this as a driving force, Yin Feibai flicked his finger lightly toward Fang Xingjian's forehead. Just sensing the eruption of this power was enough to make the many powerhouses in the Gate of Fortune tremble in fear, let alone the shock waves that would erupt with a flick of a finger. It was an explosion that was even more terrifying than when the Doomsday Fortresses had disintegrated earlier. Piercing light rays and brutal rays filled up every inch of the space. The space in the surroundings was stretched by hundreds of millions of times, and time was slowed down by thousands of times. Under the distorted space-time, everyone felt as if 1,000 years had passed in this flick of a finger. After the distortions reached an extreme, space-time started to shatter, and absolute nothingness turned into a black path that extended out in the direction where Yin Feibai's fist had struck out. An aura as if it was the end of the universe, and the Milky Way's doomsday flowed out from it. Wherever it passed by, all the neutrinos, radiation, and even space-time itself turned into nothingness, completely disappearing from the universe. Yin Feibai caused space to shatter with a flick of his finger, and the broken spatial path that had turned into nothingness extended out at light speed like it was going to extend to the ends of the universe. To think that even space is unable to repair such destructive prowess instantly? Is he trying to destroy the entire universe? Damn it! How on earth did that Fang Xingjian infuriate him? It's over. We're going to be implicated as well. This Fang Xingjian is dead meat. The Ice River Goddess continued to maintain her calm. To think that he can shatter space-time directly. A power of this level is sufficient to shake the entire universe's foundation. Venerable Master Zhai Xing blinked, recalling how Fang Xingjian had also relied on brute force to shatter space-time previously. He said a little hesitantly, "But Fang Xingjian, there are no buts," Resurgent Divine General said. "You have no idea how terrifying this attack is. I know that this Fang Xingjian is very amazing to you, but to the multivariate universe, a character like him is nothing. To think that he can flick out such destructive prowess with just a flick of his finger. Great curse, we must retreat quickly." However, Venerable Master Zhai Xing was slightly stunned. It was because he wanted to say that the scene from earlier seemed to be something that Fang Xingjian could do as well. However, before Resurgent Divine General could finish his words, under everyone's astonished gazes, Fang Xingjian's palm grabbed onto the black path of nothingness. Then, with a slight clench, he glued the shattered space together with brute force. Even his head, which had been engulfed by the black nothingness, regenerated once again. Everyone in the Gate of Destinies fell silent. It could be said that the scene that Fang Xingjian had done earlier had completely broken their common sense by squeezing and shattering void space with his bare hands. Yin Feibai also revealed an astonished expression. However, at the next moment he smiled. Interesting. Were those two fingers? Although Fang Xingjian's performance far surpassed the estimations of everyone in the Gate of Destinies and the ancient Heavenly Court, to Yin Feibai, this was merely a game. On the Doomsday Fortresses, Edwards exclaimed, "To think that he can receive an attack from a Kryptonian warrior? I wonder how much longer he can last." At the thought of this, his gaze suddenly narrowed. It's just as well. Everyone, prepare to retreat while they're busy. This time around, other than Yin Feibai's index finger, his middle finger had also curled up. Both of his fingers accumulated power and aimed toward Fang Xingjian's chest. "It's coming. Try your best to block it if you can." A power that was like the sun's explosion once again erupted from Yin Fei Bai's finger. Endless nothingness shot out explosively from his fingertip, turning into a stream of formless shock waves that encompassed toward Fang Xingjian's body. This time around, Fang Xingjian did not passively receive a beating. The Royal Heavenly Great Art Martial Art projection made a move almost at the same time. The Supreme Seal, Universe Seal, and Infinity Seal appeared in void space. Then, the three seals combined into one, turning into an ascendant heavenly seal that smashed out fiercely toward Yin Fei Bai. The golden hand imprint lashed out in void space. Under everyone's dumbfounded senses, it also struck out a stretch of black nothingness. It clashed fiercely with the void shock waves that Yin Fei Bai had shot out, turning everything into nothingness. Chapter 1149. Yin Fei Bai came from an influence called the Country of Delusions, and the first-generation leader of the Country of Delusions was the current silver demonic god, Li Anping. From this, one could tell how powerful the Country of Delusions was. They were ranked at the top in the entire multivariate universe. Moreover, as the Country of Delusions had always maintained contact with the green demonic god's Four Worlds dream, they had many slots to head to the southern constellation, which was a sacred land for warriors to cultivate. Yin Fei Bai defeated many opponents in the Country of Delusions and obtained this slot. That was why he could head to the southern constellation to cultivate as a warrior. In the southern constellation, there were a total of 7,024 branches. Yin Fei Bai had gone through over 100 years of hard work, passed through layers of selection, and defeated various martial arts geniuses, mutated life forms, divine beasts, monsters, and other competitors from various corners of the multivariate universe. Only then did he get the chance to enter Krypton to cultivate. He successfully obtained the Krypton bloodline and started to cultivate the Krypton metal battle physique, eternal divine furnace, and light speed fist technique. This time around, he passed through the most vicious trial in the southern constellation and finally graduated successfully. Only then did he start his adventure in the multivariate universe. It was a pity that not long after his adventure started, he felt a deep disappointment. Weak. Too weak. Most existences in the multivariate universe, regardless of whether it was their experts, their armies, or the various natural disasters and monsters in the universe's void space, were too weak. They were so weak that Yin Fei Bai was unable to pique his interest at all. He even had to be careful when he spoke or transmitted messages in case he ended up tearing those weak life forms apart. It was only now that he finally encountered an opponent who could pique his interest a little. Fang Xingjian's ascendant heavenly seal broke through space, and two waves of black nothingness collided fiercely. They were on par, breaking through space-time. To think that he's also breaking through space-time, Resurgent Divine, General said in disbelief. How is that possible? To think that this Fang Xingjian can fight against him? The Ice River Goddess maintained her calm and said with a frown, "Look carefully. That Fang Xingjian has already unleashed his full power, while the other side is just casually attacking." Through everyone's senses, hints of black cracks appeared on the Royal Heavenly Great Art Martial Art projection's conjured physique. His powers seemed to be circulating to a certain limit. On the other hand, Yin Fei Bai appeared to be unscathed. It was as if what he was doing was as easy as eating or drinking. When the two were compared, it was clear who was superior. At the same time he exchanged a move with Fang Xingjian, Yin Fei Bai's other hand reached out from afar and grabbed fiercely toward void space. If an ordinary person squeezed it hard, nothing would happen. A slightly stronger martial arts master might be able to explode the air and create a strong gust of wind if he clenched his fist. When a divine-level expert clenched his fist, space would distort, and light and heat would undergo intense changes. Right now, Yin Fei Bai clenched his fist hard, and his entire fist was instantly encompassed by a layer of white light. However, the center was a stretch of darkness. The surrounding light rays and microscopic particles gushed toward his palm without any regard for their lives. The super soldier, trained by Krypton, had created a black hole with a pinch. Faced with this scene, everyone from the ancient heavenly court was stunned. Then, they frantically activated the Gate of Fortune to resist the gravitational pull of the black hole. What kind of joke was this? Creating a black hole with one's bare hands? This was something they didn't even dare to think about. On the other side, the Doomsday Fortress's original plan to retreat was completely ruined. The terrifying suction force emitted by the black hole firmly grabbed onto them, making it hard for them to move. Damn it, the void space magical furnace has already been overloaded. There's no way for us to break free from this great gravitational force and jump into hyperspace. Edward sighed and said, "Is this a super soldier from the Southern Constellation? Such strength. It's against the rules. Is he really still a living creature?" Yin Fei Bai clenched his fist and controlled the 7 Doomsday Fortresses and the Gate of Fortune. He smiled and said, "Don't leave without saying goodbye." Powerful electromagnetic waves had just sent out this sentence, transmitting it into everyone's minds. However, at the next moment, a fist smashed fiercely onto the back of his head, causing it to lower slightly. Oh, the person who had punched out was another one of Fang Xingjian's martial art projections. The fist flashed with darkness and nothingness that represented extreme destructive prowess. However, it was still unable to cause any damage to Yin Fei Bai's body in the slightest. The toughness of this guy's body has already surpassed the universe's space itself? What kind of joke is this? The punch that could shatter space was ineffective. This meant that Fang Xingjian's existence was even sturdier than the universe's space-time. Then, even if the entire universe was destroyed, Fang Xingjian would still be able to exist. It was as if he was already a world. Under Fang Xingjian's astonished gaze, Yin Fei Bai kicked out fiercely. His kick, propelled by stellar energy, reached 10% of light speed. Although the speed was a lot slower than Fang Xingjian's light speed and superluminal speed, this was not light speed movement that was achieved through electromagnetic wave transmission, space compression, high-dimensional attacks, or other tricks. Instead, there were no tricks at all. It forcefully pushed Yin Fei Bai's physical body to 10% of light speed. Fang Xingjian also kicked out with his high-dimensional vision. Their feet collided fiercely, and amidst the swollen and torn void space, the martial art projection's feet shattered and dissipated abruptly. Then another 5 martial art projections descended from the sky. Sword light, fists, forces, and various other attacks exploded inside and outside Yin Fei Bai's body through superluminal speed, high-dimensional attacks, and other means. Each martial art projection possessed the power of 90,000 martial will points. When the 5 of them exploded at the same time, they could almost instantly tear the entire Earth into dust. Even the sun would be triggered by a series of collapses and explosions under such attacks, forming a disaster that could destroy the entire galaxy. However, when faced with such attacks, Yin Fei Bai took them all on without a care. His body only trembled slightly, and there were no signs of damage. Weak. Too weak. Don't you have any stronger moves? One of Yin Fei Bai's hands remained in a clenched position, maintaining the black hole's gravitational field to prevent the people from the other 2 groups from escaping. However, his other hand suddenly disappeared, turning into a lump of blurry light and shadow. Pushing the eternal divine furnace, 50% light speed fist. A myriad of light and shadow instantly exploded on Yin Fei Bai's palm, and the devastating fist force eroded out in all directions with his body as the center. Wherever it passed by, Fang Xingjian's martial will would shatter, and no defense would be able to last for even 0.0001 seconds. The attacks from the 5 martial art projections were pushed away just like that, and they had no choice but to dodge by moving at superluminal speed. However, at the same time as the 5 martial art projections retreated, another 3 martial art projections descended. The Ascendant Heavenly Seal and the Instant Sword were activated under the superluminal speed effect of time acceleration. They instantly exploded in Yin Fei Bai's mind, causing the latter's head to sway slightly. Chapter 1150. At the next moment, Yin Feibai punched out across space. His fist, which circulated at 50% light speed and had the effect of space folding, struck onto the three martial art projections at superluminal speed, instantly crushing the three martial art projections that had martial will points at 90,000 points. When their attacks reached such a level, the speed of each attack would surpass light speed, and their destructive prowess would be able to destroy planets. It was almost hard to defend against them and detect them. One could only dodge before the attacks were launched or take them head-on. The two of them had a series of intense battles, and Yin Feibai appeared nonchalant. He held onto the black hole with one hand and clenched his fist with the other, easily suppressing the 8 martial art projections. He would also occasionally cause Fang Xingjian's martial art projections to explode. Seeing that a large half of the martial art projections had been destroyed in the blink of an eye, yet Yin Feibai remained calm and unscathed, everyone present once again felt a deep sense of helplessness. It's too terrifying. That Fang Xingjian is actually very powerful, the divine general skeleton said. We've all misjudged him. He alone is enough to go up against us. But that mysterious man is even more terrifying. He can attack at superluminal speed, create black holes with his bare hands, and has a physical body that is even sturdier than space. How on earth did he cultivate? The Ice River Goddess shook her head. This isn't the time to be talking about these. Although that Fang Xingjian is powerful, he isn't the other party's match. Right now, that person is able to suppress Fang Xingjian with a single hand and can even lock us down. He's probably up to no good. At the thought of this, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. It was too terrifying to be targeted by such an extremely powerful existence. They did not even have the right to escape. Heavenly Emperor Malediction's brows furrowed tightly. He felt that a myriad of thoughts were running through his mind as he thought of many solutions. However, all of them were defeated time and time again by Yin Feibai's performance. Yin Feibai was like a peak that could not be seen, causing him to be unable to see any hope. Venerable Master Zhai Xing was stunned. He had not expected that after escaping Fang Xingjian's pursuit with great difficulty, he would encounter a character that was even more terrifying than Fang Xingjian. He could not even escape. On the Doomsday Fortresses, countless high-level sorcerers started to feel despair. Even Marshal Edward's eyes were filled with panic. With the level that Yin Feibai had displayed, creating a black hole with his bare hands, shattering space with a single punch, and having an indestructible body, he was no longer an opponent that they could deal with. He could only use communication magic to pass the news to the upper echelons of the Empire, hoping that the Empire could send reinforcements to save them. Looking at the changes in the arcane technique projection, Edward sighed and said, "This person won't be able to hold on for much longer. Are we next? God, please save us." However, just as everyone thought that Fang Xingjian's attacks were useless and that he had been completely suppressed by Yin Feibai, the information hidden in the attacks finally gathered together in Yin Feibai's body. An extremely mysterious aura that contained the world's great Tao soared up. The Heavens Tao Symphony had erupted. After the information contained in the many attacks arrived in Yin Feibai's body, they gathered once again, turning into the profoundness of the universe's principles. Countless great Tao and supreme truths suddenly erupted in Yin Feibai's body, causing his mind to come to a standstill. There seemed to be endless profoundness swirling in his eyes, and all of his consciousness sank into a state of probing the world's profoundness. However, Fang Xingjian knew that with the strength that his opponent had displayed, it was impossible for him to be completely lost in the Heavens Tao Symphony. This could only seal off his opponent's movements temporarily. However, Fang Xingjian had not planned on using this move to defeat his opponent. Then, the Sattva sword technique. The royal heavenly great art martial art projection tore out fiercely, and the void space in front of him was torn apart like a canvas. Countless quantum foam exploded amidst the seething. A huge spatial crack appeared before them, and Earth's phantom image appeared before everyone. Then this phantom image changed abruptly. It was as if the camera had zoomed in, and countless planet-capturing devices appeared in the depths of the South Pole's ice plains. At the next moment, the scene changed once again. Countless light spots formed a stretch of starry sky, appearing behind Fangxingjian. It was a starry sky formed by the 90 billion people he ruled and their civilization planet. Sattva sword technique, a low bellow that came from a high-dimensional world, suddenly appeared in everyone's minds. Fangxingjian understood very clearly how powerful Yin Feibai was. Therefore, from the moment he controlled Yin Feibai, he performed his strongest move without any hesitation. It was the Sattva sword technique, which represented an almost limitless destructive prowess. At the next moment, the entropy gathered from the annihilation and birth of countless parallel universes and timelines appeared in the starry sky behind Fangxingjian. Entropy represented the degree of chaos and was irreversible. Therefore, when a universe reached its end, its entropy would definitely reach the highest value. Right now, countless timelines had disappeared due to Fangxingjian's actions, and countless timelines have been born due to Fangxingjian's actions. The remnant entropy from the timelines and parallel universes formed the Sattva sword technique in Fangxingjian's hand. The entropy from countless universe remnants flowed out from the starry sky, dyeing this universe. Crimson-red light waves gathered behind Fangxingjian, condensing into the form of a stream of sword light. If Yin Feibai's earlier actions had caused everyone present to feel astonishment and despair, then right now, the Sattva sword technique Fangxingjian performed had completely surpassed everyone's imagination and comprehension. It felt as if countless universes had been forcefully squeezed into this universe. Red light waves flowed around Fangxingjian's body like viscous blood, and the degree of chaos it contained was something that no one present could understand. What terrified the people from the heavenly court and the number one magician empire even more was that as the Sattva sword technique was performed, the entropy from the endless universes started to flow into this universe. As the degree of physical chaos kept on increasing, everyone gradually realized that they were unable to control their bodies. It was because with the Sattva sword technique as the center and as the universes flowed in, the laws of this universe went through a change. The other experts had yet to get used to this change in laws and lost control of their bodies. Even the Doomsday Fortresses and the Gate of Destinies had temporarily entered a state of shutdown. Damn it, why can't I move? I've lost control of my demonic energies. At the start, it was the energy in their bodies. Subsequently, even their physical bodies went out of control. Edwards fell limp onto his seat, and the demonic energies that had gone out of control kept on erupting in his body. His entire body showed signs of burning and melting. This person, who on earth is this person? Why does he possess a battle prowess stronger than the Kryptonian warriors? The laws of the universe are going through a change. How is this possible? Could it be that he's a representative of a demonic god? Or a descendant? That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.